the season started with so much promise.
Roberts! Touchdown!
But after 4 straight losses, the pressure to win for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers has reached a boiling point after an embarrassing loss last week to the Roughriders. They get their chance at redemption today. Riders, Bombers, now.
Milt Stiegel of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is closing in on the CFL's all-time touchdown record, but he says he just wants a win for Winnipeg, while Kerry Joseph and the Riders are on a roll as they ride into Winnipeg for the annual Banjo Bowl. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the CFL on TSN. Dave and Chris and Matt and Jock with you. And so far, Week 13 in the CFL has been Labor Day rematch week. And so far, both games have gone right down to the wire. Winnipeg is 8-2 in this Labor Day rematch, but the number they are currently preoccupied with in Winnipeg is 4. As in 4 straight losses. Matt, they haven't lost 5 in a row since 1999.
Just up and down, Dave, you know. And the buzzword out of the Bomber camp this week is brought to you by their starting middle linebacker, Barron Simpson. And that is intensity. Where has been the intensity? Well, last week it wasn't there. So what does he do? He calls out his teammates and, more importantly, himself to bring the intensity. And so how do they handle it? They go to Coach Doug Barry and say, Coach, we want to pad up during practice because we feel like we're playing like we're practicing without shoulder pads. And this football team has changed their mindset this week by putting on the pads, and they must, Schultze, because last week they gave up 180 yards rushing against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So intensity and padding up is hopefully going to be the key to turn this around.
Well, Matt, I tell you, when you put the pads on in practice, that means you're recommitting to trying to develop the physical side of the football team. But I also think they should look at the Edmonton Eskimos and what Edmonton did to Calgary the second time around. They lost to Calgary by a significant score on the Labor Day game. They got them back home and they beat them. Well, a week ago in Saskatchewan humiliated Winnipeg. Now it's Winnipeg's chance to do the same that Edmonton does. But I think it will be up to one guy, and that's Kevin Glenn. Because early in the season, he was the master at avoiding mistakes and making plays. Now, this is his second game back from a knee injury. He has to get that back. That very good technique of avoiding mistakes and making some plays. If he does, and I think the Bombers have a great chance, not just for this game, entire season.
Now, for Saskatchewan, Schultze, the question is, how do they avoid the fate that fell to Calgary in losing the game? Sometimes you win the Labor Day game, and the next week's a bit of a letdown. And you've got to come with a sense of urgency in the rematch to avoid what happened to Calgary. And that's what you got to do, is play like they played last week with this kind of urgency. Kent Keith makes 3 guys miss here after making an outstanding catch. That's the first thing. Second thing, along with intensity, which we're seeing here, is playing smart. And look at Mike McCullough right here. I mean, he's just got Charles Roberts wrapped up on a screenplay. He can't get to the quarterback. He's smart enough to get involved in the play and break it up because he's playing with intensity and with a good head on his shoulders. That's what I want to see from this football team to make it 2 in a row.
Well, their defense has certainly had a lot of intensity, allowing just 35 points during this 3-game win streak, led by Fred Perry, which kind of led to our Boston Pizza CFL poll question. Who would you pick as the defensive player of the year right now in the league? Perry's in there, Brown, Johnson, Miles, Simpson. Results at the half. Time now to introduce you to the starting quarterbacks, brought to you by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the CFL. 2 quarterbacks who came back off of injury last week. Kevin Glenn had a miserable outing against the Riders, looking to turn it around at home today.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the CFL. Do Wendy's, do what tastes right. By Rona, proud league-wide sponsor of the CFL. And by Rogers Wireless. Rogers brings you the latest MP3 phones.
Chad Jackson of Victoria, BC. You could win a 50-inch Prima Plasma TV if a kickoff is returned for a touchdown. Gave one away just the other night. Thanks to Safeway's Touchdown and Win promotion. And if a second kickoff is returned, you can win $1 million. Good luck, Chad. To Winnipeg, here's Chris Cuthbert and Glenn Suter.
Thank you, David. The CFL's Hatfields and McCoys set for the 3rd annual Banjo Bowl from Canada Stadium, and it's a great day for banjo picking and football. Crystal clear September afternoon here in Winnipeg, a temperature of 19 degrees. Breeze can always be a factor here at this stadium. Well, Danny Barrett's Roughriders have won 3 straight, and actually 4 in a row against Winnipeg, including last year's Banjo Bowl victory. Meanwhile, on the other sidelines, Doug Barry's team has lost 4 straight, including 4 straight at home. And he has stressed a recommitment to winning in the wake of last week's 39-12 shellacking. And as the guys discuss, Suits, it can be very different in the rematch from what we saw a week ago, as we evidenced on Friday night in Edmonton.
Well, this is the 3rd year officially of the Banjo Bowl, and this is the rubber match in the 3rd year. Winnipeg won 2 years ago, Saskatchewan last year, as you mentioned, but most importantly is the back-to-back from that Labor Day game, and Winnipeg always plays their best football in this game in the regular season.
Look at Albert Johnson, #1 in all-purpose yards in the CFL. We actually have the top 3 in the game, all-purpose. Johnson, Charles Roberts, and Dominic Dorsey of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So the Breeze takes the ball off the tee, and now Luka Kanji ready to go. And the 3rd annual Banjo Bowl, the rubber match underway. And this is Andre Thurman getting outside. Flag flies as Thurman steps out at the Saskatchewan bench, close to the 45-yard line. But a penalty on the run back, and that was a problem for the Bombers last week at Mosaic Stadium.
Charles Roberts will start at tailback in the backfield. Roberts over 100 yards a game in his last 2. The receiving core, Quinton McCord, is injured and out of the lineup. They'll go with 5 receivers to start. We're looking at Milt Stiegel, see if he can get a few touchdowns today and get closer to that all-time touchdown record. And an offensive line that moves Abu Meshrik from tackle into guard and plays Eric Wilson back from the NFL and NFL Europe. Back with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, played here a couple of years ago for 2 years. And Eric Wilson, they feel, has that type of offensive lineman attack mentality. They hope he can shore up and maybe lead that offensive line.
It's interesting because he'll bring a nasty attitude. The question is, how well can he play in his first game in over a year and his first game ever at tackle? He'd been with the Bombers as a guard in the past. Kevin Glenn goes to work, and the hitch to Andre Thurman up to the 30-yard line, and Thurman has 5 on the first play of the game.
Well, we have the 1 and 2 run defenses in the Canadian Football League. Saskatchewan Roughriders #2 behind Winnipeg. Nate Davis and Schultz in the middle. Perry on the outside leads the Canadian Football League with 12 sacks. So Fred Perry will be up against Eric Wilson. There's your linebacking core. Jackie Mitchell back in the lineup, and Eddie Davis comes back. He had to go home for personal problems. Of course, on behalf of TSN, everyone, thoughts going towards the Davis family. Georgia, his grandmother, passed away, and he had to go down to the funeral for his grandmother, someone he was very close to. So a lot weighing on the mind of Eddie Davis as he gets ready to play this football game.
And Mike Abu Meshrik has been shaken up on the first play, moving back to his customary right guard position with the acquisition of Eric Wilson. And this is not what the Bombers wanted to see happen early in this football game. A lot of focus on that offensive line, establishing the Bombers' offense in a more aggressive manner than last week.
Yeah, Doug Barry was pretty excited. Right in the middle of your screen, Mike Abu Meshrik. And it looks like he's going to get rolled under. And that's Nate Davis. Nate Davis had 315 pounds rolling on the back of the leg of Mike Abu Meshrik, who had an interesting quote in the newspaper. He's had a couple of quotes over the football season, and Mike said that it was so important to win this football game. He said, "We absolutely have to win. If it means biting a guy's ear, then bite his ear."
And he's been bitten early in this game, and while he gets attention, we'll take a timeout very early here at Canadian Stadium in Winnipeg. Well, Mike Abu Meshrik is up and walking on the sidelines. Hope he can get back in there. Bombers have had some injury problems on the offensive line. 2nd and 5. And Kevin Glenn with the pass and a completion at the 40-yard line.
Well, you know that Kevin Glenn wants to get the chemistry set up early between he and Milt Stegall, both coming back off injuries a week ago, and Kevin Glenn didn't get it to Stegall as often as you'd know he'd like to. And of course, on second down, that's when 85 is going to see the football. They get a little bit of a bunch formation to the right side of that offensive line, and Stegall opens up in the curl.
4 catches last week, 37 yards and a touchdown for Stegall. First down on the toss, left side, Charles Roberts. And Roberts up to the 48-yard line has 8. That was a concern last week. Poor first down production for the Bombers as we join Sean Churchill on the sidelines.
Thank you very much, guys. As you have mentioned, this is the 3rd annual Banjo Bowl, a game that was inspired by some unflattering comments made by Troy Westwood about Saskatchewan fans a few years ago. But the Winnipeg Blue Bombers wanted to take this game and run with it because they've never had a chance to host the Labor Day Classic. And this game is more than just a rivalry, it's about charity as well. The winning team will get $10,000 to donate to the United Way of their host city, but the team itself gets the coveted Banjo Bowl. Guys?
Thank you, Sean. A lot of Saskatchewan fans have made the trip, as their counterparts did last Sunday in Regina. Some people take offense with this Banjo Bowl thing, but It is interesting to note that Lyle Bauer, Brendan Tammon, the management group of the Bombers, are Saskatoon natives.
Yeah, you know, no one should take offense by it. It's all in good fun, and you know, that was set up by Troy Westwood a couple years back, and Winnipeg looking for sort of their Labor Day rival game, and they got it when Westwood called everyone in the province of Saskatchewan banjo picking inbreds, and then the retraction was quite funny, actually. I thought when he says, actually, I'd like to make a retraction. I don't think there's many people in Saskatchewan that know how to play the banjo. So, I mean, that's how it got started.
Good Manitoba boy kicking up a... And this is the 3rd Banjo Bowl, and of the 10 times that they have played in the back-to-back games, Winnipeg has won 8 of 10. So
yeah, and they get their, those are the bandanas that they're handing out to all the crowd, and the cheerleaders have them, and so they're having some fun with it, and it's the biggest crowd of the year. So money goes to charity, the biggest crowd of the year, nice rivalry, and no one should really take offense.
Jackie Mitchell shaken up on the last play, so we're off to a slow start. And hopefully Mitchell's all right. 8 for Charles Roberts. 2nd and 2, and Roberts came into the game needing 63 to reassume the CFL rushing lead from Joffrey Reynolds. And Charles Roberts again testing the heart of that defensive line, Scott Schultz, Nate Davis, and I think he's going to be a little short and should set up a 3rd down situation.
Well, the Saskatchewan Roughriders have been against the run. I mentioned coming in there, they're 2nd in the league. They're giving up under 100 yards a game rushing the football. Having said that, Charles Roberts has had some success against them. Had success on first down in this set of plays, but jammed up there on 2nd down.
Eric Bianconi, you see, had come in for Mike Abumeshrik, but good news, Abumeshrik is back in, and he'll have to hunker down for a 3rd down gamble.
Early decision for Doug Barry, about midfield. And Banks comes in at quarterback in this situation.
And Kevin Glenn coming off a knee injury, so Banks will push ahead in all likelihood.
It's about a full yard by the looks of it.
Certainly have to get across the 50-yard stripe, and Brad Banks will get that with authority behind Ami Khan. Val St. Germain back at his familiar left guard, and still some action going on in that pile, as you'd expect on Banjo Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, and the trench in there is going to be a fun area to watch on the football field, not just on short yardage, but on any play in this game, simply because of the matchups. I mean, we have Fred Perry, the league's leader in sacks, up against the newcomer, and Eric Wilson, new this year, I should say. And the changes in the offensive line. I mean, that's where this game will be won and lost here this afternoon.
Andre Thurman wide to the right, but Charles Roberts up the middle again, and Roberts will push his way to midfield. Just 12 carries last week for Charles Roberts, 90 yards. And he's still waiting for that one game where they just keep feeding him the rock time after time.
Yeah, that's what they both want. And Kenton Keith and Charles Roberts, you can see by their averages, is they're both up there. I mean, Roberts should take the lead if he has a decent game here this afternoon in the CFL. Kenton Keith has come on strong in the last 4 or 5 games.
Two-time CFL rushing champion, approaching his 5th straight 1,000-yard season. It's 2nd and 7, and Glenn has to step up. And Kevin Glenn with the slide for a first down at the Roughrider 45-yard line.
That's when you really get to see whether or not that knee is back and how well he will move with the knee brace on. Kevin Glenn said it was a little restricting to him in the Labor Day game, Labor Day weekend game. He said it took a while to get used to in that one. This time he looks like he's pretty good. He gets up into the pocket and he takes off and gets the first down. Now Eric Wilson on the outside. He's got to handle Fred Perry. And he did it on that play.
Important to note that Mike Abomeshrik has gone back to the bench, and he just spiked a water bottle in frustration, as it looks like his afternoon might be done as Roberts gets a few more, and Abomeshrik is heated up on the sidelines.
Yeah, and he went in there and trying to push off. It looked like he just couldn't put as much weight on the leg, and you just wonder if he will be back. You know one thing, the offensive linemen, their pain threshold is high.
Yeah. Tough to diagnose anything like that. Remember, Dan Goodspeed actually walked off the field when he was hurt.
Yeah.
And he's out for the year, so you hope it's not the same situation. 2nd and 6. Roberts out of the game, a 6-receiver set, and a completion to Chris Brazel. Another first down for the Blue Bombers.
Well, this is kind of the reason that Glenn gets a chance to throw this football, getting Brazel. Watch off the edge. Here's Wilson. Here's the matchup. Wilson on Fred Perry. And this is what Doug Barry wanted, Eric Wilson in space. The question was, he's not played tackle before. How is he going to do? Look at this technique. He's got Perry, takes him on, keeps him in front of him. Kevin Glenn has no one back there, and absolutely no one harassing him. He can get that ball out to Brazel.
9 for Brazel, and a fresh set of downs for the Bombers on their open series of the game. The flag and the pass picked off. David Bush has the interception, and again a penalty marker on the play.
See what the penalty is, but it looked to me like Andre Thurman either completely ran the wrong route or Kevin Glenn just let that ball get away from him, because that ball was thrown way behind Thurman.
Offside. Winnipeg number 85, decline.
Stiegel offside, so the interception stands. It's the 4th of the season for David Bush. David Bush with the interception, snuffing Winnipeg's opening drive of the game. And now Kerry Joseph goes to work for the first time on offense for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Kenton Keith off the right side, up to the 35-yard line. Good opening run for Keith of 8 yards.
Some question as to whether or not David Bush did catch that interception. It's going to be to the right of your screen here. First of all, it looks to me like Andre Thurman, and Glenn went and talked to him after this play, but is that a catch, or does that ball sneak through his arms and touch the turf on the way down? Very close, and no challenge flag thrown by Doug Barry.
Second of the pair. And Joseph, short drop, in trouble, and throws it away to avoid the sack as Tom Canada and Ike Charlton on the blitz get to the quarterback.
Ike Charlton made a nice move on the outside. A couple of changes for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Get to those in a minute. Ike Charlton does a real nice move. Here he is right down at the bottom, and he's going to make an inside move, a nice little fake up high to the outside. Watch this fake up and underneath, and is right there to get Kerry Joseph. Former teammates in Seattle. Ike Charlton was there the same time Kerry Joseph was there playing safety.
To the Bombers D with a stop early. And Luka Kanji, who is coming off back-to-back season-high punting games. Low kick. And out Albert Johnson with a return. Knocked out beyond the 50. 36-yard punt. And 12 on the return by Johnson. Well, this week's Wendy's CFL on TSN Friday night football game has Winnipeg taking on the Stampeders in Calgary. Coverage beginning at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. Available in TSN HD. And we hope it's as good as last Friday's down-to-the-wire thriller at Commonwealth Stadium. As the Stampeders had their win streak snapped, Bombers trying to end a losing streak here this afternoon. But back to work on offense. And Kevin Glenn hooking up with J.B. Stoddard, who breaks a tackle down the sidelines. And J.B. Stoddard has his biggest catch of the season.
Well, that may be, when you add up the yardage, as many yards as he's had coming in. He had 5 catches for 59 yards coming into this game. And he catches this one, makes a little move to the inside and goes right down the sideline. First breaking the tackle, David Bush kind of runs by him. He breaks the tackle of James Johnson and then shows pretty good speed going down that sideline.
41 yards, and he'll get to show that tape to his pupils. He's now coaching the receivers with the Winnipeg Rifles junior team. That's how it's done, guys. And the Bombers threaten play action. And Kevin Glenn, incomplete, was looking for Stiegel, who's looking for a penalty.
He wanted a penalty on Eddie Davis, who was going to be responsible for Milt Stiegel. I had a conversation. There they are, 1-2. There's Eddie Davis. There's Stiegel. 1-2. And I had a conversation with Eddie Davis before the game about Stiegel, and he said, you know, it's really about being physical. When you play good receivers, you've got to get up. There was no interference at all on that play. But he said the one thing about Milt Stiegel that he admires, and of course there's tons of mutual respect between the two, he said if he catches a football and is behind people, he has never been caught from behind.
A couple of 12-year vets who have locked horns many times before. 2nd and 10. Glenn got rid of it, and that almost picked off. David Bush ran by it. He was playing Chris Brazel and had a better shot at the ball than I think he realized.
Well, yeah, he didn't even look at the football, or else he has gone for a touchdown. David Bush kind of runs by it, and I guess he was looking at Chris Brazel. This ball easily intercepted, and looked like Kevin Glenn sort of panicked up there as he was about to get tackled, just kind of flipped it outside. David Bush wasn't even looking at it.
Brazel may have blocked the view of Bush, but it sets up a field goal attempt at 24 yards by the guy who got the Banjo Bowl theme started. Troy Westwood puts it through. And the Bombers draw first blood here in Winnipeg. Well, it might be the Stiegel Network today.
We'll see.
He goes after the all-time touchdown record. Milt at 134. The great George Reed, Mike Pringle at 137 with a precarious lead in one of the most coveted records in Canadian Football League history.
Certainly Milt Stiegel is capable of a 3-touchdown game at any time. Had a 4-touchdown game before against the BC Lions.
I like Stiegel's comments going into the game about we're not just worried about making the playoffs. There's still an opportunity to finish atop the East. Argos, of course, winning yesterday. A tough game. But if the Bombers can return to the form we saw early in the season, they could still very well challenge for top spot in the CFL East. Into that breeze. Armstead, the return man, up ahead to the 40-yard line. With the win last week, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, for the first time this year, enjoying a over 500 record at 6-5.
There's the running backs behind Kerry Joseph, Kenton Keith with a 6.6-yard average coming into this one. Receiving core, Armstead's a couple of slow games back-to-back. Dominguez just 1 catch last week in the Labor Day weekend game, and offensive line again without Andrew Green. Rob Lazio plays his second game in a row in there at guard.
Starting lineups brought to you by Tums. Tums tackles heartburn fast. And Gary Joseph on a roll. Tom Canada in pursuit. Joseph buys some time and now throws it away. Corey Grant, closest man to the football.
A couple of changes for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on their defensive lineup and starters. They got not on the front on the defensive line. That's the same as has been all year. Tom Canada wants a better game than he played on Labor Day weekend. One change in that linebacking core. Kyrie Zeber comes out of the safety spot, plays linebacker for Donovan Carter. And in the secondary, they go with Sean Gallant, former Saskatchewan Roughrider at safety. Robert Bean in the corner for Stanford Samuels.
2nd and 10. Joseph looking for his first completion and unable to hook up with Corey Grant, his favorite receiver last week. And it's another 2 and out for Saskatchewan.
One thing Saskatchewan hasn't done is establish Kenton Keith in the running game. I thought that would be something that they would do right out of the gate simply because of Kenton Keith's success over the last few games.
8 yards first carry, and then they go to the air the last 3 plays. And Gary Joseph without a completion so far.
Kenton Keith has had 348 yards in his last 3 games, 116 per game. They've ignored him a couple times here early.
So Luka Kanji. Better kick. Albert Johnson from his 18. And wrestled down quickly. Good downfield cover by the Roughriders, led by Dustin Chernovsky. Bombers scrimmaging, double tight end formation. Charles Roberts off the left side. And a heavy hit there as he's brought down. Omar Morgan in on the tackle.
There's Milt Stegall on the all-time touchdown list. 134 behind Mike Pringle and George Reed. He already has the record for most touchdowns receiving.
And 21 of those touchdowns have come in 19 games against the Prairie Rivals from Saskatchewan.
Yeah, you get over a touchdown a game, you've got a team figured out. See if you can figure them out here this afternoon.
2nd and 6. Roberts lining up as a receiver. Big pressure. Fred Perry and Kevin Glenn ducked under it. The pass incomplete, but Glenn did well just to avoid Fred Perry's 13th sack of the year.
You knew Fred Perry would get going. He has to try and figure out Eric Wilson on that tackle position. Perry right down the bottom of your screen here. He's got to figure out what kind of things that Eric Wilson's going to throw at him before he can get going. This is just a straight power rush, or straight rush right by everybody. He goes in between Wilson and Charles Roberts. And I'm not so sure that Eric Wilson thought that Charles Roberts was going to pick him up.
Armstead awaits. Westwood kicks it away. Good kick.
Real good into that win.
Armstead back inside his 30. But he has wheels and may get outside. He does get outside. High stepping into Winnipeg territory, and Barron Simpson cuts him off at the pass. They'll mark him out at the Bomber 40-yard line. That's a 32-yard return.
You know, you could tell, you just got the feeling that Jason Armstead was going to catch that wall on the outside, and he does. And then he figures that the only way the Bombers can to stop this guy is to throw a fishing net out on him. Watch it. He goes up into the line and then bounces out. That's to set up the wall. Now he's outside that wall and down the sideline. Barron Simpson runs him out, and there's the net on the sideline. That's the only thing that can stop him. A little dip into the middle. That sets up blocking angles.
So that sets up the Roughriders, still looking for the first down of the game. And it is Kenton Keith straight ahead. And Keith runs into the leading tackler in the Canadian Football League, Barron Simpson, making stop number 69 for the season.
Well, it's an interesting matchup here tonight, or this afternoon, when you have Saskatchewan rushing the football first in the league, 140 yards a game, and the Winnipeg run defense #1 in the league against that run at just 79.7. So who will win that battle? Whoever wins that battle likely wins this football game.
180 yards on the ground last week, and in the 3 straight wins, 620 yards. 2nd and 4. And Joseph pump and go looking for Dominguez. And great coverage there by Omar Evans in his hip pocket.
It really was, because Matt Dominguez tried to do a double move on Omar Evans. He tried to run like a little bit of a curl or hitch pattern and then take off and go. And Omar Evans was not buying it. He got a great look at it. Look at this. Little stop move there and then bang up and go down the field. And Omar Evans, perfect technique, never came out of his back pedal. He stayed in his chair. He was relaxed, and he turned around and was right there in perfect coverage on Matt Dominguez. Maybe that's why he only had 1 catch last week.
3rd straight, 2 and out. And Kanji in to attempt a 41-yarder. Perfect inside the 40 this year. And no problem from 41. As Saskatchewan uses that great Armstead return for field goal position. 3-3 with less than 2 minutes to play in the opening quarter of the 3rd annual Banjo Bowl, and the Bombers will scrimmage from their own 35-yard line. Scott Reginbald, the fullback, out at a wide-out position, and it's Charles Roberts squirting through across the 45, and Roberts has a first down.
You know why they do that? The reason that you would take a fullback like Scott Reginbald and put him out at wide out on a running play like that is to see if Saskatchewan will adjust by taking a linebacker out there with them. They don't. They leave Mike McCullough in the middle. They don't walk him out, so they're playing zone defense. So it does 2 things for the offense. 1, it'll take the linebacker out if they're in man, so they know that the linebacker's out of the box and possibly a chance to run against him. If they leave the linebacker in, Kevin Glenn knows they're in zone defense.
Roberts with 30 yards as he closes in on a 1,000-yard season, 19 short, as he takes the pitch and cuts back inside. And another good run by Roberts, close to 9 more.
You know, the penetration, I believe it was Terrell Dreniak who gets up the field, should have stopped this play, but that's why Charles Roberts is so good. You think if a defensive lineman gets that kind of penetration right there at the top of your screen, that would stop a running play, but Roberts never is tackled by the first tackler. Here comes Dreniak, 79. He gets that good. Look at that. Runs right by that one, and that would have been a loss of 5 or 6. Roberts makes him miss and then picks up good yardage.
Remember, we mentioned first down production a problem last week for Winnipeg. And so far today, averaging over 8 yards on first down. High snap on that 2nd down run by Roberts. He gets to midfield and should have the first down. And that's the final play of the opening quarter here in Winnipeg, tied at 3. First quarter stats are brought to you by Rona, proud league-wide sponsors of the CFL.
Well, the Saskatchewan Roughriders do not have a first down offensively. They've run 2 plays running the football and got them 14 yards and then have gone away from that and don't have a first down because of it. But Winnipeg hasn't capitalized when they've had opportunities.
Winnipeg a couple of times deep in Saskatchewan territory, and the Armstead punt return the biggest play so far, other than the David Bush interception.
Absolutely. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers down at the 34-yard line and the 17-yard line have 1 field goal and that turnover to show for it. So missed opportunities can come back to haunt you. Saskatchewan has to keep going with Kenton Keith.
And in keeping with our theme about how different the rematch can be, Winnipeg looks a lot better on offense today.
Well, 8-2 since 77 in this rematch. I played in this rematch a couple of times, and they are a much better football team when they come back off the Labor Day weekend game.
And the Bombers putting together a couple of first downs here. First down at midfield. This time they fake to Roberts, and Glenn over the middle and wide open. Chris Brazel has another catch.
Outstanding throw by Kevin Glenn. He gets it low and away. On those throws across the middle, receivers don't want to have to reach up and try and expose their ribs as they have to go for that football. So Kevin Glenn does a nice job, little play action. Watch, he's got a throwing lane, throws it nice and low so Chris Brazel can confidently catch that over the middle. There he is on the inside of the 3 receiver side. Stiegel's pushing everybody deep. He takes Eddie Davis's attention, and Brazel opens up over the top.
18 for Brazel, who has 2 catches. He had 2 all last Sunday. Long out, R.J. Franklin with the catch, forced out quickly. The University of Windsor product with his 8th catch of the season.
He's the outside receiver over here. See Stiegel and Andre Thurman. Stiegel's going to sit down in the hole, and there's Franklin catching that little out on the sideline. And right now, Kevin Glenn using all of his targets. We've seen a big throw to Jamie Stoddard as well.
7 for Franklin, 2nd and 3. John Osterhaus in the double tight end formation. Another high shotgun snap, and Charles Roberts has another first down.
Yeah, that's a couple in a row from Obi Khan. To get a high snap in the shotgun, that's got to be a bit of a concern for Kevin Glenn, because first of all, it takes his eyes off the coverage or the running back if it's a handoff, and he has to find the football above his head. Obviously, he doesn't want to fumble it. If it goes back there, that's a huge loss. And because of the high snap there, Kevin Glenn had a bad handoff that Charles Roberts barely hung on to, so it can create all kinds of problems.
Doug Barry delighted with the play of his center this year, but there have been a few shotgun problems early in the season. First down, Kevin Glenn, and Glenn tossed to the turf for the first time today as Terrell Jariniak has his 5th quarterback sack.
And Kevin Glenn had a wide open Chris Brazel right at the first down marker and went the opposite way. To the right of your screen, Kevin Glenn has an open receiver, but he takes a look there and then comes back and switches his eyes right back to the other side. And by then, Terrell Jariniak is home. But on the opposite side of the field, Chris Brazel wide open on the sideline by about 10 yards.
Roughriders with 3 sacks last week. They lead the Canadian Football League with 35 on the year. So 2nd and 18. And Glenn, wow, he just got submarined.
Yeah.
There's Jariniak again. 2 in a row for Terrell Jariniak, and Nate Davis helped clog it up.
Oh, did he ever. Watch Nate Davis's bull rush. Here he is right here, and Nate Davis is just, watch him get off the football and just drive the pocket back. Look at that. He takes Obi Khan and he puts it right, he puts him past Kevin Glenn. That pocket just collapsed around him. Straight power from Nate Davis.
Is that a quarterback draw, or was that just Glenn sensing trouble was coming?
Well, he saw 4-man rush, so he thought he could find a seam, but there were no seams to be found. Nate Davis closed them up.
And so Westwood comes on. He'll attempt a 46-yarder. Stoddard the holder. And Westwood pushing this one left. And Dorsey in the end zone. Dancing around, and he'll concede the single point. So just 1 for the Bombers as the Saskatchewan defense stiffened. Oh, what a great day in the Manitoba capital for the Banjo Bowl. 4-3, Bombers lead. Gary Joseph still looking for his first completion of the day. A team that's racked up 136 points in the last. There's a fumble that is picked up. Barrett Simpson's got it, and he's going to score. A flag comes down, and let's see if this is going to wipe out the touchdown. It will. It definitely was tossed after the fumble recovery.
Well, it was a close call, and it looked. Barron Simpson gets a block from a teammate on Kenton Keith that's trying to recover the football, and it came from the side. It was going to be a real close call. I knew it. The flag came out from way back. It was the official on the opposite side of the field that's going to call this. Kyrie Bear was the guy coming up to throw the block for Barron Simpson.
Holding, Winnipeg number 44. 10-yard penalty.
Well, that's not the block I saw. So the block was not. That was a different block from the opposite side of the field. Let's take a look again. First of all, this is the option going to the right. Option play. Now they're going to option. There they option Tom Canada, but in fairness to Tom Canada, his job is to tackle the quarterback on the option, so he may have just been tackling Kerry Joseph, and they called that as holding because Barron Simpson already had the football in his hands.
Second fumble recovery of the year, but it negates the opening touchdown of the game. It gives Winnipeg the ball at the 32. Nice play action, and Chris Brazel drops it with Jackie Mitchell bearing down on him.
He took a peek to where he was going to run. Let's go back again. Here's Barron Simpson on the option play from the middle linebacker spot, who said this week that he wanted to get the team back into pads and asked Coach Doug Barry if they could practice in pads to maybe ramp up the intensity a little bit. Simpson with the big play now. The offense will have to capitalize because his touchdown called back.
That looks like a pretty nice block from Kyrie Zeber.
Yeah, that was a good block. That's the one I thought was questionable. That was not called.
2nd and 10. Shotgun snap that puts Kevin Glenn in a bind, and now Nate Davis with a sack, and that offensive line of Winnipeg getting beaten up right now.
Yeah, they are. They're having trouble handling Nate Davis, and Nate Davis in the middle, he's right there. He has been a load in this game this afternoon. They try and just slide to the right, slide protection to the right, and look at Nate Davis. He just keeps chugging those feet. This time it's Val St. Germain that has his hands full with that guy. 315 pounds of him.
Excuse me, 30th career sack for Nate Davis, 2nd of the season, and Westwood's going to try another one from the same spot he just missed, from 46 out. And this one's going to stay inside, and Troy will up the lead. 7-3 Bombers. Doug Barry felt his team lacked intensity last week, was looking for a response. The total offense would indicate he is getting a positive response, but you think they've squandered some opportunities to really take control of this game early.
4 times inside the 35-yard line now for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and they've come away with just 6 points.
And 14 yards of offense for Saskatchewan. Kenton Keith buried by Tom Canada. Penalty marker down.
Boy, Tom Canada took a bit of a gamble, and it paid off for him. He went right down the line of scrimmage. Left Kerry Joseph open to the outside. They may go back. Look at this. Here's Canada here now. He could step up this way, or he can go down the line of scrimmage. He chooses to go down the line of scrimmage, and it's the right choice this time as he reads that handoff. But outside of him, Kerry Joseph and Shamar Bracey were open had Joseph hung on to the football. So he gambled a little bit, and that time it paid off.
Ron Warner, however, was offside, so it's first down over, 5 yards to go. Armstead out wide to the top of your screen. Twin tight ends and Kenton Keith. Couple off the left side, but not much more. And Barron Simpson in the middle of it again.
Yeah, and maybe that's one of the reasons that the Saskatchewan going away from Kenton Keith. They're up against the #1 tackler in the CFL, and Barron Simpson. Keith had a little success last week, and Barron Simpson's the guy who started this whole thing about practicing in pads this week. He's the one who went in and said, you know, we have just not been intense enough on the football field over this losing streak. Let's get the pads on. And Doug Barry said, hey, I haven't had players ever ask that, but if you want to, let's do it.
Yeah, I bet you never asked for it.
Never.
2nd and 3, short drop, and that pass caught by Dominguez. And Matt Dominguez down to the Winnipeg 43-yard line. That's the first completion and the first down of the game for Saskatchewan.
Well, Robert Bean is going to close on Matt Dominguez on the outside, and his timing is way off, so he gambles on the football, but the football was already in the hands of Dominguez. Quick throw by Kerry Joseph, and look at the gamble, way late to try and get the football. Dominguez just spins out of that and picks up good yardage.
And after Dominguez caught it, I thought 88 might be out the gate as Bean gambled and lost. Gain of 26. And now Joseph rolling right, looking back the other way.
Got him.
Wide open is Kenton Keith.
Did he catch it?
Bears there to toss him down.
Did he catch it? The throw way behind him. and it looked like that was right down near the turf. If that throw is on the money to Kenton Keith, he scores easily. But Kerry Joseph is going to roll this way and then throw back the opposite direction over here to Kenton Keith. When he does, it's an underthrown football. There goes Keith. He sneaks out of the backfield. And watch how this is low and inside. Now, does it touch the turf or does he keep his hands under it?
It's a nice catch.
It is a good catch by Kenton Keith. It looked close.
Gain of 24. Now the offense starting to roll. Bracey down to the 12-yard line. Warner and Simpson in on the stop. Bracey with a late touchdown last Sunday.
Boy, that throw to Kenton Keith. First of all, he does a nice job of selling it because he looked like he was just going to block. Then he sneaks out of the backfield. Unbelievable catch. Had he got that ball out in front of him, he scores. There's no one outside of him. He picks that one up off the turf and then has to beat Kyrie Zeber. Can't do that, but big gain for Saskatchewan.
He's showing good hands. 34th catch of the year. Two-back offense, 2nd and 4. Ron Warner out of the starting blocks quickly. Was he drawn? Or is this an automatic first down?
Right in the middle of your screen, Ron Warner.
Winnipeg number 94, 5-yard penalty. First down.
Absolutely no movement from the offensive line for Saskatchewan. Ron Warner tried to anticipate the snap count and got it wrong. Sometimes teams will do that. They'll go on 1 or first sound the whole time, and then right when they need it most, they'll change it up, go on 2 or second sound or third sound.
So Joseph and the Roughriders 1st and goal from the 7. Play action. Touchdown. Kenton Keith.
They ran this series of plays on Sunday a week ago on Labor Day, and it had great success running the football and running the option. It's kind of that old cross-buck type formation, split backs for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They go with Bracey and Keith. Here they are right there. There's Keith and there's Bracey. Now what they'll do is they'll go across like this. One goes across the other way and then sneaks out. That's Kenton Keith, and it works perfectly. Little fake there to Bracey. They get outside and dump it off to him.
Kanji adds the extra point. 5th touchdown for Keith on the year. Saskatchewan with its first lead. Kenton Keith, 5th touchdown of the season as he caps a 75-yard drive.
Mama, I love you. You created a monster. I know you watching this. Doyle, Dan, all the Keiths, Daniels, Cottons.
Of course, all the Keiths were in the stands last week at Mosaic Stadium.
Well, Ken Keith gets the touchdown, and Shamar Bracey gets the assist for the fake.
Raji kicks it off. And it'll be Andre Thurman. With a cutback, and Thurman dragged down as he crosses the 50-yard line. Good return of 26 yards. Let's take another look at the Keith touchdown.
Watch what the fake. Here's Bracey on the fake going this way. Watch what that does to Barron Simpson right here. Go ahead, run it, guys. Here he goes. It's going to influence Barron Simpson. 25 goes that way, dumps it off. There's the touchdown, and watch what happens to Simpson. Barron Simpson now has to look at the run first. He comes back to the run. Nope, it's a pass, goes outside. Remember I told you Tom Canada gambled early on and won? He gambled on that play and didn't win. I'll show you that in a second.
Kevin Glenn, good field position as he tries to answer back. Eddie Davis on the blitz. Glenn with the quick release, and he finds Thurman at midfield. Close to 5.
Whenever a defensive end decides to go down underneath like that, here's Tom Canada right here. Look, see how he goes down again? He comes down underneath. Here's Tom Canada in this direction here, and if he goes straight up the field, he cuts off that rollout by Kerry Joseph, and there's no play. So one time Canada gambled and won. The next time he didn't win, and Joseph celebrates.
That set can really put defenses in a bind when you got threats like Bracey, Keith, and Joseph, who can pull it out and run himself. 2nd and 5. And there's Brazel with a catch and a first down At the Saskatchewan 47, third catch for Chris Brazel.
It's an interesting point, Chris, you make about the running backs and having Bracey and Keith in the backfield together. And you know, it's what people have been saying about John Avery and Ricky Williams when he's back healthy again in Toronto. And it's often can be a good weapon to have two quality tailbacks in the backfield at the same time. Winnipeg really doesn't have the luxury unless they go with like an Albert Johnson back there.
Not many teams utilizing that type of offense. Eddie Davis showing blitz again. They swing it out, and Thurman drops the ball, goes after it in case it's ruled a lateral, but it is an incomplete pass.
Eddie Davis has the green light from the backside of this formation. He's going to come off the edge at the right. He has the green light if he doesn't have a receiver, if he's uncovered, to go ahead and blitz. There's 29 at the bottom of your screen. So he has no one to cover. He's going to go after the quarterback, and Kevin Glenn's starting to get frustrated with all these drops, and I don't blame him.
Now 4 times already inside Saskatchewan's 40. Just 7 points to show. 2nd and 10. And a completion here. Back inside. And short of the first down.
Is it close enough, though?
Could be a 9-yard pickup.
He's the outside guy, R.J. Franklin. Comes all the way down inside zone defense, so David Bush had dropped off. And is he close enough to have to... Well, Doug Barry's going to throw the field goal unit on the field without any... He decided that in a hurry.
Another tackle for Reggie Hunt, who's number 2 in the Canadian Football League, behind only Barron Simpson. And this time from 44 yards out. Well, he invented the Banjo Bowl, so put him to work on this Sunday. Troy Westwood trying to knot the score, 10. And straight down the middle. Westwood's got this game tied. So 10-all here with just over 3 minutes to go. First half. And Kerry Joseph swings it up. Chris Sarker drops the ball as Kyrie Hebert had him lined up for a heavy hit. And a reminder that Wendy's Kick for $1 million is back. Great list of prizes, including $1 million one-time payment if you hit the 50-yarder.
Make that, you get the 10 grand. You get all. Look at this. You make that one. Those are chip shots. Those are easy ones for you. This is your last day, and then the big one right there. I mean, you can make them all, or if you miss one, you keep going and you take the next one. Tonight's the last night.
Yep.
So sign up now.
Enter at tsn.ca/Wendy's. Last day to enter that competition. 2nd and 10 for the Roughriders. And Joseph throws high. Andy Fantu's the intended receiver. 2 and out, and the 3-minute warning being given to the benches here at Canada Stadium. Just under 3 minutes to go. First half here in Winnipeg, and then we'll check in with the guys back in the studio. Dave Randorf, Chris Schultz, Matt Dunnigan, Jock Climby. Their thoughts on this first half as
that poster has the old logos, I think. Yeah. That's the old TSN.
Oh, throwback. Oh, I'll get you on Sports Center, though.
It sure will.
Luka Kanji, the Simon Fraser product in the punt. I can't wait any longer. 77-7.
I can't believe you brought it up. We'll be back.
That ball looked like it hit somebody and then is picked up and flags fly. And they'll sort out no yards.
You know, both these quarterbacks won't have real good numbers after the first half. 112 yards for Kevin Glenn, but how many drops has he had this afternoon? Both quarterbacks, seems that their receivers have the dropsies today, and that can get frustrating.
I know it's easy to be the armchair offensive coordinator, but both teams have terrific running games that haven't really been snuffed, and yet they don't want to, doesn't seem like they want to dedicate their offense to the run so far in the first half.
And sometimes you can outcoach yourself, and I'm not suggesting that the game plan, I don't know exactly what the game plan is for either of these teams, except for that when you have Ken Keith, when you have Charles Roberts, if you start to think about it as if, well, now they know we're going to run, so now we're going to take the next, and then, you know, it's not that complicated sometimes.
Charles Roberts within 4 of hitting the 1,000-yard mark. Their high shotgun snap, and there's Charles Roberts going over 1,000, which is his norm. And he's closing in on Joffrey Reynolds.
Yeah, Joffrey Reynolds got it just barely. I thought Joffrey Reynolds was going to be well over that 1,000-yard mark after the game against the Edmonton Eskimos. The Eskimos did a nice job on Friday of containing Reynolds, although he was the first running back to get his 1,000. They keep giving it to Charles Roberts this afternoon. He'll pass it.
There's 8 more for Roberts on a first down carry, and on second down, Roberts with a big hole off the left side, still going down to the 33.
You know, it just either Charles Roberts makes these decisions in a heartbeat, or he has a game plan before he takes the football, because it looked to me like he was going to make this cut that he makes off the edge here. Right there, that bounce outside, it looked to me like he was going to make that move before he got the ball, like he was game planning, like he had seen this on film, that Terrell Jereniak is going to go down inside, so I'm going to get outside of him, and that's what Roberts does nicely there.
There's a new rushing leader in the CFL, but a familiar old face. And back to Roberts again. And Roberts down to the 25. See, maybe it's not that easy to be or it is easy to be the armchair offensive coordinator. Give one the ball.
Well, and now they're down in that zone where they've had drives stop. I mean, this is where Charles Roberts has kind of disappeared all of a sudden. We'll see if Doug Barry sticks with him. 77 yards so far. But is there a running back in recent years in CFL history that has the ability to cut back, to make that cut as he's taking the football? Is there anyone that has done it better than Charles Roberts?
No, I don't think there is. Great start for him. Last week it was a first half running game by the Roughriders. A pass for Roberts, incomplete. Reggie Hunt
second down
coverage.
Yeah, and they don't convert again. And once again, Troy Westwood will have to come in. You know, these missed opportunities got to be making Doug Barry a little bit nervous on that sideline. I mean, his team has moved the ball in the middle of the field, primarily running it to Charles Roberts.
They have been on Saskatchewan's side of half with every possession.
Oh boy,
in this first half.
That's just not enough points to show for that kind of production.
And so Westwood on to attempt a 33-yarder. And Westwood good again, reestablishing the Bomber lead. Gary Joseph and the Roughriders start at their 35. And it's Kenton Keith out of the backfield. Up to the 42-yard line. Well, tonight the NFL on TSN has the Battle of the Manning Boys. Dayton of the Colts takes on Eli and the Giants. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. It's available in TSN HD. TSN, your home for NFL Sunday and Monday Night Football.
Tom Canada, after that last play, got up holding his right arm. See if he's okay. He down at the bottom of your screen there. Took a long time to get back to the huddle.
8, so it's 2nd and 2. And the Roughriders should have the first down on the Keith carry.
See how Tom Canada's playing it off the edge a little bit differently now. He's sort of standing up. Watch him here. There he is right in the middle of your screen now. Watch how he plays. Remember before he was going down, he gambled and it didn't work out on the touch. See how he's just kind of sliding on that line now? He's changed his technique a little bit and not committing quite as early.
Called the performance of himself and the defense unacceptable last Sunday. Charged up this afternoon, 1st and 10. And a completion. Dominguez, a second catch, and a tough guy to bring down as he's tossed out at the Winnipeg bench by Kyrie Seber.
You know, both these corners now, that was Omar Evans' turn, and it was Robert Bean, but both these corners have taken gambles on the football, and when they have, Dominguez has come up with the catch. And it's the decision that every DB makes when the ball's in the air. Do I have time to get to the ball, or should I just play the man and make the safe tackle?
Dominguez does a good job to get out, stop the clock. 21 seconds remaining. First half, and the Roughriders at the Bomber 49-yard line. Here comes the blitz. Joseph stands in, wide open, Fantuz. And the all-CIS player from a year ago, the rookie, has a big catch with 15 seconds left.
And there's a flag down. It looked like Kyrie Seber may have roughed Kerry Joseph, so there may be yardage tacked on.
And this was a problem last week. 4 roughing penalties against the Bombers.
Well, here comes Kyrie Seber. The ball is gone, and he rolls into the legs of Kerry Joseph. Gets called for that.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Winnipeg, number 23, heading below the knees. After this is the goal line. First down.
They're going to keep defenders off the legs and the head of the quarterback.
So time for a couple of shots for Saskatchewan. After the catch by the Heck Creighton Trophy winner, Andy Fantuz, and the penalty to Hebert. First down from the 13, 3 receivers to the wide side. Joseph was looking that way. And now into the end zone, Armstead, touchdown! Jason Armstead with 7 seconds on the clock. The Roughriders regain the lead.
The play is designed to have Kerry Joseph roll out, and he wants to roll out this way. What he ends up doing is putting the brakes on and rolling out back the opposite way, and he's got Armstead across the middle. Here's the rollout. Now he wants to turn back because Doug Brown's right there. Goes back, moves his feet, gets a little more time, and what a catch by Armstead at the back of the end zone to get his hands underneath that football.
6th touchdown of the year and his first touchdown in 6 games. Armstead with the point after from Kanji.
Get Ivan!
As Saskatchewan with a last-minute first-half touchdown drive.
Jason Armstead came from the opposite side of the formation there. He's right here. He's right here in your screen, and what he's going to do is come across the middle here and all the way on that layered road, all the way in behind. See how he comes just across a little crossing pattern. Then he's going to go across the middle. And now it's just whether or not his quarterback can find him. But what a catch. He has to lay out, and he gets his hands underneath that, controls the football all the way. Some kind of catch and pretty good pocket awareness from Kerry Joseph. You know, the difference in this game right now this afternoon is who is taking advantage of their opportunities. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers have had more scoring opportunities than Saskatchewan, but Saskatchewan has capitalized. Winnipeg has not.
Kerry Joseph, who did not have a completion in the first quarter, has 2 touchdown passes in the second quarter and now has 16 on the year.
You know, we were wondering when Jason Armstead was going to get going. The last 3 games, he's had just 4 catches, 46 yards, and he finally, whoa!
That ball ricocheted back. Who's on it? That hit one of the up men. The Bombers are on it with 4 seconds to go. They're in field goal range. You know, they are on the football.
Ron Akami, this is a called play by Luka Kanji and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They're going to try and drive it at one of those guys, have it hit him at the front and bounce right back to him. It almost works because Saskatchewan has the first crack at it, but Akami comes up with the football.
Yeah, but why do you do that with in the dying seconds? If you get the ball back, you don't have time to really do anything with it. Now Winnipeg can line up and
I'm not sure the timing was right.
51-yarder.
But it is a design play.
It's a tough one for Westwood. Would be his longest of the year. He has missed from 51. But
now you know, I just, having said that, now here I'm thinking about it. It's a called play often to run that. But maybe Danny Barrett in this case, because of the timing, wanted a squib kick.
I think that's
probably
more likely.
And by accident hit him.
Because you recover that, you don't have any time to do anything with it.
Yeah.
There's 4 seconds.
Yeah, I don't think Danny Barrett would do that. So likely there was a chance that that was just a squib kick. Let's just kill the time as the ball rolls around on the turf in the first half. And just unfortunate for Luka Kanji, he hits Ron Ackermy with the football.
So Westwood looking at his longest field goal of the season so far from 51 out. Nope, yeah, that's not going to do it. And Dorsey's going to run it out and end the first half. So no damage done on the late kickoff blunder by Kanji. And Saskatchewan has the lead at halftime of the Banjo Bowl. Dave?
Thanks a lot, Chris. And these guys are in total agreement with you. That was a squib kick that just took an unfortunate bounce for the Riders, although no damage. As Chris Cuthbert just pointed out, the Saskatchewan Roughriders with 2 touchdowns in the second quarter. This one to Kenton Keith. And they've got a 17-13 lead in the Banjo Bowl. The boys are next. This was the Boston Pizza CFL poll question we asked you prior to kickoff. Who would you pick as the top defensive player in the league if you're picking right now? Some pretty good candidates there. You voted and you said Jonathan Brown of the Argos. Fred Perry finishing third. We thought he was kind of running away with things at this point. Baron Miles getting some votes. There's a lot of good candidates there and still a lot of football to be played. Reggie Hunt's having a great game with 5 tackles. Jorniak with a couple of sacks. Hi, everybody. Dave Randorf, Chris Schultz, Matt Dunnigan, Jock Climby. 17-13 at the half for Saskatchewan in the Banjo Bowl. Just 7 completions so far for Kerry Joseph of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, but he's got some great catches. Jason Armstead in the end zone. Kenton Keith pulled one off the turf, made a great catch. What are your thoughts, Mr. Receiver Guy?
Well, my thoughts are, as a receiver, I'd be very frustrated with that because there's some touchdowns that are being left out there on the football field. But they did get a touchdown, and they got it because they took advantage of how Winnipeg does play the run and the bootleg. And here I'm going to show you, and this is what Glenn Suter was talking about. And here you see Tom Canada, and his job here is to track the quarterback and go down the line of scrimmage, and if need be, he has linebacker help outside if necessary to take any naked bootleg. And here he decides to crash down the line of scrimmage, and this is great against the run. It's not bad against the pass either, because once again, you've got Canada here, and you've got your linebacker who's coming around the outside. But it takes longer for the linebacker to get there. Look how long it takes him to get there, and now the quarterback has time to find a receiver. So it's good against the run. It's not so good against the pass, and it actually gave them the touchdown on that play.
Jock, what did Baron Simpson ask for throughout the course of the week?
Little intensity.
Little intensity, and I saw that in the first half by the Winnipeg Blue Bomber defense. In fact, they held the Saskatchewan offense without a first down 21 minutes of the first half, but then it was the big play that got him. But the intensity was certainly there. Certainly there, and I'm telling you, they were pressuring Joseph, and he didn't have his first completion until well into the second quarter. But then when he did, the wheels fell off. But Baron Simpson, he puts this one in the end zone. Tom Canada, you can see him pulling down Kerry Joseph in the background there, Schultz. The intensity's been there by the Winnipeg Blue Bomber defense. Last week, Chris, they were burnt by the big play.
Right.
Late in that second quarter, we saw the same thing happen. They have to eliminate that in order to be successful in the second half.
Well, overall, pretty good defensive effort for Winnipeg, but my concern for them at halftime is the center, Obi Khan. Now, to play the center position in CFL football is tough because 90% of your offense is shotgun formation. That is almost a disaster. A fumble because of the high shotgun snap. And then again, once again, Kevin Glenn has to take his eyes off the football. And anytime you're a quarterback and you got to look up and then look right at the camera, in my case right there, it's totally doing your job. You look up, and then you have to try it.
It's not good.
No, I'm not going to try it.
Throw something at him, see if you can catch it.
Yeah, throw it. No, let me just ask you about the intensity. I want to go back to Winnipeg's defense intensity, but the mistakes. The 2 key penalties that they had in that first half, one by Kyrie Zebert and the one by Canada. It's a fine line, right?
Kyrie Zebert was actually chop blocked into the quarterback, and I think it's an unfortunate penalty in that case, David. But, you know, the intensity level is there, and the Winnipeg defense has stepped it up. In fact, they're shutting down basically the run in Saskatchewan. It was Kenton Keith catching ability that hurt him in the first half, Dave.
What's Saskatchewan done well that they can do maybe better in the second half, Jock?
Well, obviously, Kerry Joseph isn't playing the kind of football that I think he's capable of playing. I'm glad to see Armstead getting involved a little bit, but I'd like to see him get the ball more. Dominguez has been awesome. He's one of my favorite receivers in the league. If you can get him the ball and Jason the ball, they're going to be doing good things here in the second half.
Winnipeg, don't abandon Charles Roberts, whatever you do. Continue to give him the ball.
How many times have we sat here and raved about Charles Roberts after a strong first half, only to see him inexplicably kind of disappear in the second half? But he is the new rushing leader as it sits right now. This is Jason Armstead, who has a touchdown on this nice punt return. Former Ottawa Renegade now getting it done in Rider Green. Welcome back. Let's show you highlights of the game from yesterday, starting with the ceremony, which probably was the highlight of the afternoon. Damon Allen being honored in front of the Rogers Centre crowd for passing that man, Warren Moon, to become pro football's all-time leading passer. They hung the banner. They presented him with a gorgeous plaque, and then unfortunately the football game began. It was not pretty, folks. There's a shovel pass that is picked off by Jonathan Brown. Not a lot of offense, as we know from the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who have struggled, and that's being kind. They lost, and this is the winning field goal right here. Even Prefontaine, who's been automatic, missed a couple, but he gets that one right there. The Argos get it done, 11-9. No touchdowns scored in this game, which in the CFL is almost unheard of. However, it's a valuable 2 points for the Argos as they grab a share of first place in the East Division. Guys, they now have a bye, and they have 6 games remaining, but they only have 1 game remaining against an Eastern Division opponent. It's against Montreal. It's the last weekend of the season. So what do you think about Toronto's resurgence and that East Division race?
Well, I think Toronto Argonauts have the opportunity right now. They've gotten healthy and they're playing their best football. But to me, Jason Moss is still a story. He is a mystery to me. Now, I do believe that the hardest single position in all of team sports is the quarterback. I will argue that point with anybody in any team sport. Having said that, CFL quarterbacks are more responsible for making plays than NFL quarterbacks. But I cannot understand why this guy who has thrown for 5,000 yards, confidence seemed to have hit an all-time low. You've played the position. I haven't played the position.
I talked to Jason earlier in the week, and without, making excuses for him, I don't have enough time here to explain the situation in its entirety, but he is playing with injuries that have been stacking up over the year. And I can tell you, I am hurting for this quarterback and this young man, because he's certainly an outstanding character guy that brings a lot of talent to the football field, Jock. And I can tell you that Jason is struggling with some injuries right now. And again, it's not an excuse, because everybody plays injured right now.
Yeah, well, Hamilton needs Jason Moss. I'd go so far as to say the CFL needs Jason Moss, because right now Hamilton is playing ugly football, and Jason Moss obviously takes some of the blame for that. He's such a high-quality quarterback that when he gets back on track, we're going to have one more very competitive football team in the league.
Yeah, well, right now it's a 5-game losing streak for the Tiger Cats. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are trying to build on their winning streak in the game that we are showing you today. A close game, 17-13. The halftime number is brought to you by Coors Light, the Silver Bullets.
Last week, Kent Keith had 89 yards rushing, so it's inexplicable to me how Saskatchewan's only put 24 yards rushing on the board, but I think both teams would be wise to run the football given the talent they've got in their backfields.
Meantime, Danny Barrett's team has the lead, and the head coach of the Riders spoke with our Sean Churchill.
Well, Danny, a week ago we had the running game going solidly. This week you used a lot of option to get things going.
Well, we're just trying to keep a good mixture right now. We knew with them bringing Haysbear down into the box, they're going to take away our run game. So we're just trying to mix up a little bit. But obviously the run game is going to be vitally important, because the win is playing a bit of a factor.
The defensive line, though, continues to eat up Winnipeg's offensive line.
Well, and I think that's the key to being successful, is everything starts up front, both sides of the ball. And our D-line is ready to go. Got another half, though.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
They do have another half, but they'll go into the second half with the lead thanks to this touchdown catch, and a nice one, Jock, by Jason Armstead.
That was a beautiful job dropping the ball in there, too.
Crunch time, big hits, oh yeah. The Grey Cup is here. Come on, scream it out louder. Come on, get it closer to the hour. Come on, Grey Cup fever.
The official theme song of 2006 Grey Cup here in Winnipeg, unveiled today. Come on, from Pushing Daisies, Manitoba Band. As we start looking ahead to mid-November and the Grey Cup Classic. And TSN is proud to present this game in high definition, courtesy of Sony and available in 5.1 digital Dolby surround sound. And before we start the second half, let's rejoin Sean Churchill with Doug Barry.
Well, Coach, so far this game is a game of missed opportunities for your team. What have you said, or what will you change to change that misfortune?
Well, I think we're all aware of it. Missed opportunities on offense, obviously in the scoring zone, and giving opportunities on defense, and we've got to change that for the second half.
Can you shore up the offensive line and keep their defensive line?
It's hard to shore it up when we've already got one starter gone.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Yes, Mike Abumeshrik injured on the second play of the first half. 3 sacks for the Saskatchewan Roughriders defense. And here we go, second half. Roughriders with the lead, 17-13, and Kevin Glenn. And the Bomber offense has a slump to end. They do not have an offensive touchdown in 4 straight games in the second half.
And now they have to deal with the loss of Mike Abumeshrik. Here's what the quarterbacks did in the first half. 112 yards for Kevin Glenn, 117 for Joseph came in the second quarter. The Saskatchewan Roughriders did not have a first down in quarter number 1.
Well, during the 4-game losing streak, 43 points have been scored by the Bombers. And again, second half, the well goes dry at camp today if they are going to snap this streak. Charles Roberts running hard in the first half and corralled there for a short gain at the 45. Give Roberts 3, and he's been the key weapon. No touchdowns in the second half the last 4 games, and in that span, just 9 points.
Yeah, and it's a game of adjustment, so that's partly with the coaching staff, partly with the execution on the football field. And speaking of execution, before this half started, Obi Khan was working on his shotgun snaps to Kevin Glenn.
Second down, rush on, and Glenn finds Milt Stiegel for a first down across midfield into Saskatchewan territory.
Some protection this time for Kevin Glenn. He gets a chance to back in there. Charles Roberts, a nice cut block so he can get that ball out and get Milt Stiegel. Milt Stiegel caught the first pass of the game from Kevin Glenn and then was kind of quiet after that.
That's catch number 2. 56 on the year for Stiegel, who missed those 3 games and still remained among the receiving leaders. Came into this game 3rd in the league. There's that shovel toss to Roberts, and hanging on, it's Schultz. He goes back to Glenn, and they'll lose 3 or 4 more as Scott Schultz broke up the play.
Well, Scott Schultz does a nice job of getting down the field. He just keeps pushing the man he's blocking, and when he does, he gets down the field and he causes all the problems for Charles Roberts, who's lined up right there in the backfield. There's a step. Now Roberts coming underneath, but Schultz had got such a good push, and both these guys are. Scott Schultz and Nate Davis have come off the ball very well this afternoon. There's a little fake. And not a great decision for Roberts, who just lost more yards and got his quarterback hit.
Before the game, I asked Scott Schultz about Eric Wilson being back in Winnipeg. He said, who are they going to bring back next? Chris Walby? A pass that batted down almost back into the hands of Kevin Glenn.
Well, Chris Walby would help them. You know, I mean, this is a offensive line that's gone through all kinds of changes. Mike Abumeshrik has played tackle. He's played guard. They've had to bring in Aaron Fiacone. They've had Val St. Germain in and out of the lineup. They bring in Eric Wilson's never played tackle. He's a great football player, but has to learn a new position. I mean, all of those things can add up to disaster. And right now in the second quarter and the beginning of this second half, Kevin Glenn has had guys in his lap on every throw.
Westwood punting it away, and Dorsey fields it at the 11. And Dominic Dorsey picks his way up to the Saskatchewan 24. Saskatchewan Roughriders go to work on offense. First possession of the second half after that last-minute go-ahead touchdown to win the first half. Flags down and early movement along that Saskatchewan line. We heard Doug Barry talk about missed opportunities, and for Saskatchewan rolling right now on a 3-game win streak, it's been the opposite. Danny Barrett's team has now scored 10 touchdowns in their last 12 visits into the red zone. So that is high efficiency.
Very high. That's very high. Now, I know Danny Barrett would like to get in the red zone more often.
Procedure, Saskatchewan, 66, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
But when you're on a 3-game winning streak, that's probably one of the reasons your red zone productivity. And again, tonight or this afternoon, they have done very well inside the red zone. Those 2 touchdowns, they're 2 opportunities. So unlike Winnipeg, they are taking advantage of opportunities.
Took a while for them to get going in this game. 1st and 15. Long out. Grant goes up high to pull it down. And it is a catch. Gets back to the original line of scrimmage and maybe one more. Well, Danny Barrett talked about the recent success of his offensive unit.
3 things. 1, more opportunities. Early in the year, we were behind in a few games, so we had to get away from our running game in the manner in which we like to run the football. And also, I think the second thing is our offensive line is playing their best football right now. And the combination blocks and double teams and one-on-one blocks they're utilizing and doing a great job of that. And then really what it comes down to is putting the kid in a situation, running some familiar plays that made him successful in the past.
And Danny Barrett's offense clicking in high gear to start the second half as Kenton Keith not only converts on a 2nd and 9, but turns it into one of the biggest plays of the day.
Yeah, and you heard Danny Barrett talk about his running game, and Kenton Keith is the guy in the running game. Here he is right here. He's going to get out of the backfield. And as he sneaks out on this screen, watch his acceleration to the outside. He outruns the angle from Ron Warner, stays in bounds, and that's tremendous speed down that sideline of the field. That is a glorified running play to Kenton Keith.
65 yards, and no secret that Kenton Keith has been in high gear throughout the 3-game win streak. Back down into that score zone, and here's Armstead coming around. Tom Canada unable to upend him, but Armstead running out of real estate in a short gain.
You mentioned it, last few games for Kenton Keith. In fact, last 5 or 6, he has been right up around 500 yards. He's climbed right back into the rushing race. Last week on the Labor Day weekend, he was a huge threat. This is a big touchdown. One of the turning points for Saskatchewan in that game.
So just a yard for Armstead, 2nd and 9. Joseph, a lot of time. That ball batted down, nearly picked off.
Good read. It looked like it was Omar Evans coming underneath. He came off his man. His man's going to be the short guy at the sideline. Kerry Joseph doesn't count him. He thinks he has an open receiver in behind Evans. And Evans kind of sneaks underneath and really should have had the interception. There's been some dropsies all over the field in this game. Receivers, running backs, now a defensive back, but they have an excuse. We never really have hands.
That's why they are on that side of the ball. And Kanji with the field goal that ups the lead. It's a 6-point Saskatchewan at 7. Yes, I can confirm it's a 7-point Saskatchewan lead after the field goal on their first possession of the second half.
You know, this is another fairly low-scoring game. Teams not really capitalizing on all opportunities. We've seen a few of them in the CFL. In fact, this has been a topic of discussion, Chris, for quite some time, is that, you know, teams, or a lot of people aren't seeing those high-scoring CFL games they're used to. So I looked at some of the numbers compared to this time last year, and points are down, but not real significant. Minus 43 is not a big deal at this point in the season. Rushing yards way up, and that's more ball control, maybe less touchdowns because of it. Passing yards slightly down. Defensively, teams are better. There are more sophisticated defenses this year than probably any other Well, George Cortez said that to me when he came back from being in the States for a while, that more sophisticated defenses out there now.
A couple of more players on the roster have become defensive specialists. Glenn looking deep, overthrowing Thurman, and Kevin Glenn punished as he delivered the football.
It was Jackie Mitchell, and you remember the hit Jackie Mitchell put on Dave Dickinson.
Won't forget that.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone will. It's one of the big hits of the year, and he's going to get this hit in a very similar situation coming off the corner, and Kevin Glenn just steps up in the throw and turns his shoulders slightly, or he gets it right under the chin from Jackie Mitchell.
No, even here in the press box today, people buzzing about what we witnessed from Ricky Ray on Friday night, the courage he showed. 2nd and 10. And Glenn finds Thurman, but Thurman broke one tackle, but then Tristan Clovis comes across, helping out Reggie Hunt to make sure Thurman doesn't reach the first down.
So defense has become a little more sophisticated. It takes a little longer for offenses to catch up to that. You know, and so when you look at the defensive stats of this time last year, and this is something that I also checked on, and you can see, like, quarterback sacks are up from this time last year, and so are interceptions by 18. So, and that's a bad one. That's not a defensive stat, but way more penalties than we had this time last year. And of course, it's not exact numbers simply because I had to take Ottawa out of the equation. But interesting to see why the trend has switched a little bit.
There's Armstead, and he's snowed under as he crossed the 20-yard line. 2013, Saskatchewan has the lead. Back to the offense for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and Kenton Keith not going anywhere. Ike Charlton tosses him down for a loss.
Gavin Walls creates the problems for Kenton Keith. Gavin Walls gets so far up the field, he's going to end up back in here, and when he does, Kenton Keith has nowhere to go. He steps right up. There's Gavin Walls. He gets great penetration. Then Ike Charlton just chases him down and tosses him to the turf. Big loss, a tough situation in his own end for Kerry Joseph now.
The loss 7, so 2nd and 17. Bombers relied so much on this defense to start 5 and 2. They swing it out. Here's Keith again, already over 100 yards. Receiving, took a heavy hit from Ron Warner and got back close to the original line of scrimmage, but no more.
That's great hustle from Ron Warner. Ron Warner is an interior defensive lineman. This guy plays with a ton of intensity all the time. There's Ron Warner right there. Now watch Ron Warner. He's going to rush the passer. He goes one-on-one. Look, now he's fighting. Now he goes after Kerry. The ball is thrown out there. He hustles back, and ends up making the tackle. Every young football player watching this game, that's how you hustle. If you hustle like that, good things will happen.
Ron Warner, the top lineman in the CFL for the month of July. Got a 4-sack game against the Argos early in the season. Kanji to punt. And Albert Johnson takes this at his own 51 and steps across midfield. And look at the field position the Bombers will have when we come back after the 16-yard return.
This is Milt Stegall of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and we're at it again. It's the Labor Day rematch on TSN.
There's the golden boy of the Winnipeg Blue Bomber offense. And they are looking for second half production.
Tough to get him the football, though, when Kevin Glenn has got a defensive lineman in his lap.
Again, Mike Abou-Meshreq hurt out of the game. Aaron Fiacone's in, and Charles Roberts has the ball. What a cutback by Roberts. A first down, however.
Coming back.
It is coming back. As the penalty marker was tossed, as we saw Roberts cut on a dime.
Yeah, and Fred Perry got steamrolled. He kind of got thrown down, and I'm wondering if that was the holding call, and you can see the frustration from Charles Roberts. Flag came out right as he got around the corner.
57, 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Jermaine Jones is a guy who's called on holding, and he's often at the outside, right? He's a tackle spot. And there he is there. There's Perry. And let's just see as they go around this side. Jones looks pretty good there. I don't know if I saw a penalty. He had his hands inside.
Bombers the most penalized team in the league. The Roughriders the least penalized team. And the stats today reflect that. Glenn, great pass over the middle, complete down to the 40-yard line. Jamie Stoddard has another catch, his second of the game. He had a pair last week. First 2 games of the season where he's had more than 1 catch.
Yeah, and you know, though, I don't know if Kevin Glenn has seen a catch yet. Watch him again. This is a great throw over the middle, and then down he goes again. It's every single play. Even if he's getting the ball out of his hands, he's having to pick himself up the turf and ask an offensive lineman, did we complete it or not?
So 12 for Stoddard, 2nd and 8. And over the middle again, J.B. Stoddard. And that's still a live football. Stoddard finally down by Kitwana Jones.
You know, one of the ways that they're getting Jamie Stoddard involved a little bit is to move him inside. I mean, Jamie Stoddard normally plays the wide side of the field, the wide out position, and now they're using some change motion. In other words, bringing him from that position into the slot back area. He gets closer to the quarterback. When he's closer to the quarterback and the quarterback is seeing a lot of pressure, he is the outlet man to throw to. A good catch over the middle for Stoddard.
59 yards on the season coming in. He has 70 already this afternoon. Graham Bell and Regimbald in. Glenn to throw. And there's Stiegel. Late flag tossed. And Stiegel steps out near the first down stick.
And that late flag with the reaction from Jermaine Jones of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers when he threw his hands up in the air is likely an indication that this will come back as well. Now that first holding call on the run play I thought was very questionable. And there he is there. He threw his hands up. Let's just take a look at him, see if that's the penalty. Again, it's Perry on the outside. This time he gets his hands around the outside. Again, that ball's gone. I mean, this one, that didn't look like a penalty either.
Legal block to the face. Saskatchewan, 79, 10-yard
wasn't.
penalty.
Yeah.
First down.
On Jereniak.
Jermaine Jones looked very guilty, but it wasn't on him. Jereniak gets his hands up. Oh, there it is, the right hand on the face mask.
So the Bombers threatening now. The ball at the 14-yard line. Roberts the lone setback with 4 receivers wide side, including Milt Stiegel. Roberts.
What a
kicks it outside. And he does get back to the line of scrimmage. Gets a yard, but could have been a lot worse.
Well, he gets it. It'll be one of the best runs for a yard you're going to see. I mean, the move he makes on Mike McCullough in the hole, he just puts the brakes on. He's in the backfield right beside Glenn. And this is the little draw out of look, watch this one here. Little plant and head shake, and McCullough is frozen. He only picks up a yard, but it's a pretty exciting yard to watch.
Yeah, Jereniak and McCullough tackle some air, and Roberts salvages one.
Reggie Hunt's made some tackles this afternoon.
Yeah, he usually does. Second in the league, 2nd and 9.
Stiegel.
Glenn looking for Milt. Stiegel! Number 135. He's 2 away.
I can tell by the way he came off the ball that Milt Stiegel was the primary target. He was an inside receiver and he took off. All Kevin Glenn needed was some time and the ability to get outside. If he got outside, he had a chance.
Danny Barrett's thrown the challenge flag. He wants to make sure Stiegel got a foot down in the end zone.
Well, he's got both, and the first one is technically a freebie for Danny Barrett.
And he's trying to break his slump. He's 0 for 5 in video challenges. This would be an opportune time to win one.
Yeah, and you know, this is not a bad time to even try it, even if you don't win it. Number one, it just slows things down for a second if you've just been scored on. Number two, it's a freebie, and maybe you get lucky and he was out of bounds. It was right at the end line. Let's take a look. First of all, Glenn has to get outside. He does that on Jereniak. Now he's going to throw it up and over the top. Now with Stiegel inbounds. Both hands on the ball. The left foot looked like, right foot looked like it touched inbounds. You only need one.
Yeah, did the right foot get down quick enough?
Tough to tell from that angle. That first angle showed it pretty well.
Clearly the left foot's out, but the right foot first to make contact.
Here's another one. This might be even better. Well, that's hard to tell again when that right foot, but the right foot did touch first when he had the football. And here's the best look.
And from this angle, looks like the right does get down.
Hold it right now, guys.
He's in.
There you go. And it looks like that foot is in bounds, and he has control of the ball.
But you're right, a good challenge.
But yeah,
Ken Lazarick's going to take a long look at it.
This is a good decision. And Danny Barrett, you know, he didn't have his players arguing really. He didn't have any indication when he threw the flag because we hadn't shown a replay yet, so there's no way. But it's a good challenge anyway. It takes some momentum away. It slows things down a little bit.
But we know, and Danny Barrett knows, that Milt Stiegel knows his way around an end zone.
Yeah.
And usually we'll get a foot down, and it looks like he has moved to within 2 of George Reed and Mike Pringle, but it's going to take a little longer to confirm that.
It's amazing how he can do it. Number one, know where he is on the football field, have that kind of field awareness as he's fighting off Eddie Davis at the back of the end zone, to know that he had to get that right foot down in a hurry.
After review, there is no undisputed evidence that the ball was caught out of bounds.
Yeah, not a bad challenge, but he showed you Stiegel's right foot inbounds. The fact that he fought off Eddie Davis and kept the foot in is just another testament to how great a receiver he really is.
So Doug Barry has ended the slump as far as second half touchdown production, thanks to his #1 guy, Milt Stiegel. Westwood adds the extra point. The Kevin Glenn touchdown pass has tied this game at 20. Well, there he is. Milt Stiegel closing in on Canadian Football League history. And maybe we'll see him today.
Wow, lots of football to be played. There's his 135th touchdown, 2 now away from Mike Pringle and George Reed. He had one in the Labor Day weekend game a week ago against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. You mentioned that incredible stat, Chris. 21 touchdowns in 19 career games against Saskatchewan. He now has 22. And we may see more Milt Stiegel. We'll likely see a lot more Milt Stiegel before this one's over.
Yeah, he's scored in bunches before. It was, I think, 11 months to the day that he had the 4-touchdown game against the BC Lions. But a critical game for both teams, and we're tied at 20 here. Late third quarter as Armstead brings it back to the 28.
I would have left that to go out of bounds if I was Jason Armstead. But we'll document these touchdowns for you as Stiegel gets close. This was last week. Number 134 for Milt Stiegel, and a little out route against David Bush. There, now he's got 135 in the books on a nice corner route at the back of the end zone here. And 2 to go to tie. 3 to become the all-time leader.
On his bike while the Saskatchewan Roughriders go back on offense. See how the Roughriders respond to the first Winnipeg major score of the afternoon. Kenton Keith straight ahead. Brought down at the 34-yard line.
Well, a play like that from Milt Stiegel should ignite this defense for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And it basically gives you a chance defensively to start to believe again. You know, it starts to wear on you when your offense is not productive in the red zone, when they're getting opportunities and settling for field goals and you're behind. Even though defensively you're playing pretty well, it can wear on you. But that touchdown should give them some enthusiasm.
And Winnipeg defense still leading in 7 categories league-wide defensively, including number 1 against the run. Second down, the option, and the shuttle back inside. And heavy traffic there. Kenton Keith.
So you got to believe.
Nailed Doug Brown and company.
You got to believe. You know, this defense started out huge the beginning of the year, and the reason that this team was 5-2 out of the gate. Look at their first 7 games, 24 sacks in the first 7. They go 5-2 now. In the last 4, all losses. That drops to 4. Look at their rush yards allowed, a whole bunch more. But a play like that from Stiegel ignites the defense. They get it 2 and out, and Kevin Glenn gets back on the field.
Well, big Doug Brown missed the Labor Day action last year with an injured foot. I remember telling us he got involved in Mosaic Stadium though when he took somebody's beach ball and put an end to that frivolity. Albert Johnson on the return. Up across the 45-yard line. And a reminder that you can vote for today's Rogers Player of the Game during the 4th quarter. Send to Go CFL. Rogers bringing you the latest MP3 phones. And Mr. Stiegel has had many Player of the Game votes in his illustrious career. There's one of the Saskatchewan possibilities today.
Yeah, Ken Keith is having himself a game. And again, those are 2 players we just showed you that will be very important down the stretch here for both their football teams. Not only Ken Keith running the ball, but as a receiver out of the backfield, he's equally as dangerous.
We'll see what that touchdown does to the confidence of the offense. Roberts to the 51-yard line. Nate Davis at the bottom of the pile.
This time Stiegel is used as a decoy as he comes around the formation on a fake reverse to Stiegel. And this may be just to plant a seed. Take a look at this. This is Stiegel from the slot back. They fake it to him coming around. Say, hey, we may use that later on in the game.
But they might not, because they did use that in Montreal early in the year. Remember, Milt saying he was too old for that play.
Yeah, but he made a big gain on it.
20 yards.
There he is.
And a catch and a first down. Into the Saskatchewan side of the field for the guy who's not too old to still get it done.
Well, and once he runs that corner for a touchdown, now you know the defensive backs, here he is right here in the middle of your screen, now you know the defensive backs have got to respect that speed that he shows time in and time out, so they back off him a little bit, and he catches a little out in front of him.
Eight on that pickup for Stiegel and a first down. There's Roberts. And he is met at the line of scrimmage and driven back.
That was another tricky handoff for Roberts to handle. And, you know, I showed you some of those snaps that have been high for Glenn. I mean, that one was okay, but the bottom line is some of those can sneak up on you. They've got away with them a couple of times. Here's another high handoff. It gets up in the shoulder pads of Charles Roberts. Now, he's handled a couple, and he's handled them and hung on. See how it gets up in his shoulder pads? That's got to come down lower into his stomach.
16th carry for Roberts, who had just 12 last Sunday in Regina. 2nd and 10. And there's Stiegel. He's open. Milt Stiegel down to the 5-yard line. David Bush saved the touchdown.
He gets the one-on-one on David Bush. And anytime it's one-on-one, Glenn's looking for 85.
46 yards on the final play of the 3rd quarter. 3rd quarter stats brought to you by Rona, proud league-wide sponsor of the CFL.
Time of possession dominated by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at 28-40. The question is, can they capitalize in the scoring zone?
Well, hard to believe, just 20 yards rushing for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Have been chewing up the yards at a clip of over 200 yards a game over their 3-game win streak, and you get the feeling after a 46-yarder by Stiegel, shortly after a touchdown by Milt Stiegel, that who knows? Might be a little history today.
Well, you know, he's right down here where they like to run those rub patterns where they try and have one receiver pick off the defensive back so that Stiegel can get open. That's one thing they love to do down at this end of the field. So maybe a good chance that Milt Stiegel will be the primary target down here. If they don't go to Roberts on first down, try and run it once first.
There we go. Ball on the Saskatchewan 5-yard line. And straight ahead they go. Touchdown.
Yeah, that's a good call. Even though everybody wants to see Milt Stiegel with another touchdown, on first down, try out number 1 first. See if he can get there, and he does.
And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers regain the lead here.
And the offensive line regaining a little confidence, just drive blocking right here as they step up in there and they create that little bubble for Charles Roberts to run through. Then he drives the last tackler into the end zone.
Yeah, that offensive line gets the job done. And after the 46-yard pass to Stiegel, Roberts converts. A couple of second-half touchdowns for the Bombers. Converted by Westwood. And it's 27-20, Winnipeg.
I'm Doug Brown with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It's the Labor Day rematch on TSN.
Well, Charles Roberts has given Winnipeg the lead with that 5-yard touchdown run, matching his yards from a week ago against the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Last 2 weeks, 210 yards. Average of 6.4 per carry in the last couple of weeks for Charles Roberts, so why not give him an opportunity down there in the goal line, and he capitalizes on it. Now they're 2-2 in the second half, capitalizing. First half they were 0 for 4.
Here, Doug Brown there, he was even intense, just welcoming everybody back. Instead, doesn't reach the 30. Cut off by Kyrie Bear. The Bombers certainly have the momentum right now.
They got it back when they got Milt Stiegel going. He gets that touchdown in the corner, and then this is the catch. Look at the one-on-one on David Bush. And Bush looks back to the quarterback. See him peek back this way? Doesn't matter if you're beat by that much. Looking back at the quarterback just gets you the best ticket in the house. Stiegel gets in behind him. That sets up the touchdown to Charles Roberts, and all of a sudden, you're right, momentum all with the Bombers.
Bombers try to end a 4-game losing streak. They've lost 4 straight on home turf, and that pass for Corey Grant. High and outside and incomplete.
Ike Charlton that time faked like he was going to take the blitz and go, and then he dropped off and ended up on French just to the right of your screen. He's going to fake like he's going to blitz, and this causes a quick throw from Kerry Joseph, and he gets right in the throwing lane of French, which was likely the primary target, and that one goes incomplete.
Roughriders were 2 and out on their last possession, and now looking at 2nd and 10. Joseph deploying 4 receivers to the wide side. Has time to throw, and that one nearly picked off through the hands of Anthony Malbrough, who in 5 years only has 3 career interceptions, and he just showed you why.
And no interceptions this season. He has 1 sack to his credit, but this is just an overthrow, and whoops. Yeah, that's just DB hands.
All 3 career interceptions, by the way, have come against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. That should have been number 4 for number 3.
And he had some room to run on the outside there.
3 straight 2 and outs for this Rough Rider offense. And Albert Johnson is going to give Winnipeg great field position again. Early 4th quarter.
You can't read, Dino, and fight over.
Go! For every sack in today's game, Purolator will donate the quarterback's weight in food to a local food bank. Purolator, where business is going. Saskatchewan the leaders, and they have the edge today with 3 sacks, 2 by Terrell Jeriniak.
37 total. Winnipeg still in the hunt, 28.
Fred Perry, the leader on the season, without one so far today. Nate Davis has the 3rd sack for the Roughriders. Here's Charles Roberts back to work across midfield. He gets 6.
One of the reasons that Fred Perry hasn't got there yet in this game is he's up against Eric Wilson, and although Eric Wilson's playing a new position, he's done pretty well. I want to show you what he does on this play. These are the little things that Doug Barry absolutely loves about him. Here he is here. Watch what he does. Play this all the way through, guys, and go ahead. Watch. Okay, he picks up his man. Okay, that's the dry buck. Now what? He's going to keep going, and at the top of this pile, you're going to see some bodies fly. Hang on. Here it comes. Oh. There they are right there. That's Eric Wilson driving Fred Perry all the way down the field and putting him on the pile. Those are the little things that Doug Barry loves.
5 for Roberts, who's 5 away from 100. 2nd and 5. Went back to pass, and the intended receiver upended. It was Brazel over the middle that got hauled down.
Yeah, and here they are again. This is Eric Wilson and Perry. This time Perry gets a nice power rush off. In fact, gets him off his balance a little bit. Watch him off the edge here. Number 41, he gets good contact. He drives him back. He's losing his footing a little bit, but he keeps Perry away from the quarterback, and that's the sacrifice offensive linemen have to keep their quarterback on their feet. And that's a nice pickup by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to get Eric Wilson.
Well, they called holding against Winnipeg, and as Brazel went down, incidental contact.
A big difference now between if Anthony Marlborough intercepts the pass, they're lining up for a field goal. And he didn't, so Winnipeg lines up for a punt instead.
And the Roughrider defense, the Roughriders needed their defense to come up with a stand like that. Stem the tide that's been in Winnipeg's favor here in the 2nd half. Westwood's kick bouncing down around the 25-yard line. Well, that's where the Roughriders will scrimmage the ball when we come back to Canada Stadium. Roberts have scored touchdowns in this 2nd half. For the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, they lead 27-20 as we approach the 3-minute mark of the 4th quarter. Roughriders win streak in jeopardy as Corey Joseph out of the backfield. Kenton Keith been their #1 receiver on the day, and he won't go down and then drops the ball. And Keith gets back on it.
Kenton Keith starts in the backfield. I mentioned he's equally as dangerous as a receiver out of the backfield. Here he is here, and what he's going to do is just sneak out of the backfield and catch that little underpass from Kerry Joseph again. Once he finds a little hole, he sneaks right out there. And this has been the #1 weapon for Kerry Joseph, just to dump the football off. Gets a lucky bounce there, comes right back to it.
7 catches, 137 yards for Keith, and a first down at the 45. And the run inside for 3. A reminder to fans to see Canada's top poker players fight it out for a chance to win $1 million. 2006 Degree Poker Championship from the Falls View Casino in Niagara Falls begins Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific on TSN. Available in TSN HD. The Blue Lightning enjoying things here on a beautiful afternoon at Canada Stadium.
That's what poker needs. Cheerleaders.
Yeah,
be good.
Watch that. Joseph dumps it off. And this is going to come up short.
Well, they were getting in trouble, the Winnipeg defense, when they tried to play man-to-man with a linebacker on Kenton Keith coming out of the backfield. The linebacker that was supposed to cover Keith was getting caught. So what they do here is they drop everybody. There's Keith in there. He's in that tailback spot right beside to the right of Kerry Joseph. They drop everyone in zone. So this time now, when he gets the ball, he turns around. See the tacklers? 4 tacklers, including Barron Simpson. And everybody is around there, so they have a better chance, the Bombers, of corralling Kenton Keith. in that zone.
So in the last 4 possessions for Saskatchewan, just the 1 first down on that 20-yard reception by Keith. They have to kick it away. This one bouncing down inside the 10. And Albert Johnson hanging on. Welcome back to Winnipeg. It has been 43 days since the Bombers' last victory. And actually 70 days since they won a game at home. Kevin Glenn goes to work. And there is Stiegel. Catch up to the 18-yard line. He'll be a yard short of the first down. Milt with touchdown catch. Number 135 this afternoon. And the fans here are counting down. 2 away from George Reed and Mike Pringle. And he got a good spot, Suit, so they're going to bring the yardsticks out, and it does confirm that he is within a yard of the first down. And that will give Kevin Glenn some options.
97 yards for Milt Stiegel. And he has had the big games. I mean, at any time, Stiegel, because you know why we could say Stiegel could get the record today, even though there's only 9:37 left, is he plays every play full speed.
I'm wondering about Perry Lefko, who's with the league and the league representative here today. He was dressed rather casually before the game, and he said if Stiegel did get the 3 touchdowns, he'd have to make a presentation. And he said, I'll have to change. So you wonder here in the 4th quarter if Lefko has
left the building.
Has left the building. He might be readjusting the wardrobe just in case there was a formal presentation. Some work to be done yet if that happens.
Glenn wanted Roberts back in close to the line of scrimmage.
2nd and short. And a first down run.
You know, they threw the first pass of the game to Milt Stiegel. That got him started. That was this one right here. That was early on. Little curl route. And then on a 2nd down, they needed that. Here's the touchdown to Stiegel. What a catch at the back of the end zone. That got him to within 2. That one got the offense down to the goal line. Charles Roberts scored after that catch. So
Milt closing in on his 5th 100-yard game. Graham Bell, the Regina native, got the first down, and it is a 100-yard game for Milt Stiegel, and another first down up at the 34-yard line.
You know, and Stiegel has done this a couple times in this game, and what I mean by this, he's done this out. He's come down and run the out a couple times. The out, the out, the out. You know what comes off the out, the out, the out? The out, the out, the out, and out. Meaning down and out, and then down the sideline. We'll see if they're setting them up right now for that throw.
And Stiegel also over 1,000 yards on the season. 9th straight year. Charles Roberts, left side. Big Davis lost his helmet, but he's going to track down Roberts anyway.
Look at the Predator, huh? Predator just going down that line of scrimmage. And he just... Remember the movie Predator versus Alien? There was that one, and Predator won that one. And I think if you put Nate Davis versus Predator or Alien, he's going to win that war. There goes his helmet, and he doesn't care. It doesn't matter. He gets hit in the head by his own teammate. That doesn't matter to him.
You know, there's a part of each broadcast where I get lost.
I'm going to send you movies.
He got his arm hit up for grabs. James Johnson stretched out. That ball did hit the turf.
Milt Stiegel fell. Stiegel was the intended target, and Kevin Glenn had to reload when he saw him go down, and when he did, he ran out of time. That's why this thing is going to jump in the air. Right now, Kevin Glenn wants to throw it right there to Stiegel, and he sees him fall, so he has to wait. Then he adjusts the throw to avoid the hit, and that's almost intercepted. Here's what happens to Milt Stiegel. Off the ball, and whoa! Down he goes. He tries to regroup, but it's too late, and now they're just recovering. He was there in the initial cut.
Kevin Glenn breathes a sigh of relief that it wasn't picked off. We're under 7 minutes to go. As Westwood kicks it away into that breeze. Armstead, a little stutter step, but nowhere to go. As he's brought down at the 35, Adrian Baird on the tackle. Well, it's a busy Sunday afternoon, the world of sports. Coming up next, Corey Warren will bring you up to date on all the happenings. Canadian Open, NFL, and more on this afternoon's third annual Banjo Bowl game.
And we're going to have a finish.
Yes, we are. 7-point lead for the Bombers. Trying to snap their 4-game losing streak. Saskatchewan trying to extend their win streak to 4. And a first down for Kerry Joseph. Under pressure, releases, and it's Gracie with the catch across the 50-yard line.
Again, the running backs, the target for Kerry Joseph. This time it's going to be Bracey out of the backfield as he's playing for Kenton Keith. It's exact same play that Keith would have. Baron Simpson flies over there and finally makes the tackle. See, he gets caught reading the eyes of Kerry Joseph, goes the wrong direction initially, and then reacts to get over there.
Sean Goliath, the former Rough Rider at safety, also in on the tackle. Bracey, the ball carrier, has 4 yards.
You know, John Climby said it at halftime, and I would agree with him. We haven't seen after that touchdown to Armstead, we haven't seen him involved, and even Matt Dominguez, who had some catches early on in this game, has all of a sudden disappeared.
Now, Matt Dominguez said last week they were doubling both of them, Matt. Is that possible?
It is possible, but boy, something like that really weakens you in the box. It weakens you in a lot of areas if you're taking linebackers away to double team receivers.
Well, they were both held to 1 catch last week. Armstead with a touchdown today. Kerry Joseph, quarterback draw. First time he's run today, and he does have the first down.
You know, I asked Kerry Joseph about that injury, because last week it looked like Kerry Joseph, even though he ran well, he was still limping quite noticeably. And I asked him about it. He said, I really still don't have my top end speed, and probably why we haven't seen him run very often in this one this afternoon, but I have no pain anymore. And so that's, you know, that's the good news.
Well, the rushing yard's a big story, especially the way Saskatchewan's chewed it up on the ground in recent weeks. And now Kenton Keith trying to get outside. And Omar Evans met him right at the line of scrimmage and made sure he wasn't going anywhere.
You know, Joseph got things going last week for Saskatchewan when he ran the football. This was early on in the game. He gets outside, and you can look at him limp. That's you know, that's not his top end speed either. And look at him. He's just some decent runs, and that one for a touchdown. The last one, I mean, that's the best throw in his professional career, in my opinion.
48 yards rushing, most of it in the first quarter last week to set the tone. Now second and almost 10. And here comes the rush. Joseph can't find anybody. Now downfield, and he does have Andy Fantuz for a catch, and what patience by Kerry Joseph to keep that play alive.
Well, he did. He added seconds to an offensive play, and you just cannot cover forever. Kerry Joseph looks like he's caught a couple of times in this sequence. Baron Simpson's coming on a stunt. He gets to the outside, has a chance at him right there. He sidesteps him, and look at him strong arm to Andy Fantuz, who does the right thing. Fantuz comes all the way back to the football to help his quarterback out, who's in trouble. That's just a flick of the wrist. That's strong arm in the football for Joseph.
Fantuz, the all-time leading CIS reception yardage man.
Here comes Armstead. Oh, they faked it.
Fake to Armstead, looking deep for Dominguez, just out of his reach.
Boy, Armstead had some room. Armstead had some room outside. I thought, oh boy, this one looks like it's got a chance, and Joseph pulled it on him. Watch Armstead come around. He's going to come around now. I thought he gets the ball here. He gets the corner, and look at this. It is open. He gets around that corner now. He's got to just get outside. It takes the camera and everybody else with him. The throw to Dominguez just over his head.
And Dominguez was inside of Omar Evans there, but the ball just slightly overthrown, and the fans erupt here, urging the defense, 2nd and 10. And Joseph changing the play. Flag down. Joseph looking deep. This play has been stopped.
Well, you got to give credit to the 13th man in that play, because the Winnipeg fans started to get real noisy, and when Kerry Joseph tried to change the play, he had problems doing it.
Time count foul, Saskatchewan, number 4.
There you go.
5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
That goes right to the fans here in Winnipeg, and all the fans watching this game, that's the type of effect you can have on a football game. You get in there, you cheer at the right times, you become real loud. Kerry Joseph tried to change the play. He couldn't do it. Got a time count call.
No better buildings in the league for that than Mosaic Stadium and Canadiens Stadium, and they'll ramp it up again. Ken Lazarick, I think, is going to reset the clock.
Set the clock to read 3:04. 3:04. Okay, let's go.
That's what it does say, but gives the crowd a chance to get going again.
2nd and 15. Roughriders trailing by 7. Joseph with time. Wide open. Corey Grant can't make the catch. Oh, he had a big one last week in Regina. This time Grant unable to come up with the ball. So 3rd down, and Luka Kanji in to attempt a 40-yard field goal. Trying to cut the Bomber lead to 4. And Kanji works it in, and good. 27-23. Blue Bomber lead.
Boy, you don't get many opportunities like Corey Grant did there. He was wide open because of a mistake. You see Armstead in the slot back position, number 1. Corey Grant on the outside here. Go ahead, run. I'll show you the mistake that Robert Bean makes. He's got the deep outside 3rd in this coverage. See that? He, instead of getting deep and being in that position, he jumps Armstead underneath. When he does that, it opens up Corey Grant. Corey Grant in behind coverage, and no, right through his arms. And there's no sun excuse because the shadow's behind him, and Armstead cannot believe it. It worked perfectly. It worked as you draw it up, except for one thing. Corey Grant didn't hang on to the football.
Bombers take over at their 35. Good play action fake by Glenn, and Adam Eckert, the Winnipeg native, has a catch and a 1st down at the 45, his 1st reception.
Now it's important for Kevin Glenn here now to control the clock, run the football. A lot of Charles Roberts, quick passing game. Try and eat up as much as the 243 as he can. Danny Barrett, on the other hand, desperately needs a quick stop, a quick 2-and-out, or a turnover from his defense. This is where, on defense, you start to tackle the football. Rather than tackle the man, you just try and go after the football and rip it out of there.
Bombers trying to even their record at 6-6, and even Saskatchewan's record at 6-6 at the same time. Here's Roberts. Needed 1 for 100, and he's over that. Again, Charles Roberts has wrestled away the rushing lead from Joffrey Reynolds here this afternoon, and has 4 on that pickup.
Both running backs have been a big part of the offenses for their respective teams. Charles Roberts, you mentioned, just over 100 yards.
Now that looks very lopsided, and it's deceiving because
Keith has caught some passes, yeah.
He's had a terrific game, over 100 yards receiving.
Yeah.
In fact, 142, so both running backs have been dangerous weapons here. Here's 2nd down and 6. Glenn throwing behind Thurman, and so Kevin Glenn and the offense will have to sit down. And Saskatchewan gets the ball with Under 2 minutes to go.
This is exactly what Saskatchewan needed, and they did it by making sure they had someone on Milt Stegall, and that's just playing smart football in a key situation in the game on second down. They're going to cover up Stegall well and force Kevin Glenn try and throw it to someone else, and he gets it just outside. And you know that Stegall will be the primary target in this kind of situation, so get a man to give him a little bump. You got a guy right beside him in Jackie Mitchell. Incomplete. Bombers have to punt.
Westwood into that win. Good kick. Armstead steps out at the 26-yard line. So, Gary Joseph and company, 84 yards away.
Ricky Ray did it on Friday.
Yep. And Ricky Ray did Saskatchewan a favor. If Gary Joseph can follow suit, then Saskatchewan will pull into a second-place tie with those Calgary Stampeders. Lots at stake here. You win, you move up, and of course, if you lose, there's teams in the rearview mirror, like the Edmonton Eskimos,
that appear closer than they actually are.
First and 10 for Joseph and company, and he'll step up. Flag down. Joseph takes off to the 32-yard line, but this is holding, and it's coming back.
Worst case scenario for the Roughriders. You're starting the most important drive of the football game, and you're going to have to start it from basically a first and 20 situation. The Bombers will take this penalty.
Holding, Saskatchewan, number 69. Repeat first down.
Big chill. Fred Childress, who will celebrate his 40th birthday in the upcoming week.
Well, he's inside here, and he's playing against Doug Brown. Number 97 gets his hands up high, and as Doug Brown goes by, he kind of pulls him down. Oh, no, that was close, too.
No, first and 20. Four receivers to the wide side, and Joseph with time to load up and look out, almost picked off. Good break on the ball by the first-time starter this year, Sean Gallant at safety.
That's the move they made, moving Kyrie Zaber. Sean Gallant is right here, and he's spying over there. You can see the direction of his helmet. He's looking to the left, so he has pattern read something. He slides over to that side of the formation. Gary Joseph locks into that side of the formation, and he gets a great jump on the ball. But again, that interception is a touchdown for Winnipeg and seals the deal. He didn't get it.
Couple of drops by the Bombers secondary. Second and 20. Joseph has time underneath. A spin move by Dominguez, but Ike Charlton says you're not going any further.
Danny Barrett has to figure out quickly how he's going to send the punt team on. 129. He is trying to count on his defense to get a quick 2 and out.
Yeah, he has 3rd and 14, and with the wind at the back of Luka Kanji, he needs the rookie to come up with a big boot.
Right, but by the design of that play to throw it underneath to Matt Dominguez, I figured it's a good throw if you're deciding to gamble on 3rd down. It's not a good choice if you're going to punt it anyway. Why not try for the first down territory, throw it up deep if you're going to punt the football on 3rd down.
Clock running with under 80 seconds to go. Kanji's kick drives Johnson back inside the 40. And he is dropped at the Winnipeg 47-yard line.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet, and by General Motors of Canada and all its divisions.
So a minute 11 left on the clock, and Kevin Glenn would like to chew all that time up, but head off the field with a victory.
Well, we'll see if this strategy works for Danny Barrett. He punted the ball from the 41, or at a 41-yard punt. So he gets some field position back.
Whoops. Aaron Fiacconi jumps the gun. the man who took the spot of Mike Abu-Meshrik early.
And that stops the clock.
They'll make it 1st and 15.
Procedure, Winnipeg, 55, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Now in this case, Kevin Glenn can be patient. He doesn't need 15 yards. He just needs to get at least half of it. Give him a chance on 2nd down to keep this drive alive and try and eat up the remaining 111.
Roughriders have their timeout. We figured they'd stay on the ground to keep that clock moving, and what a sure tackle that is. Reggie Hunt does it again. The tackling machine for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Well, they know they're going to try and go to Charles Roberts because it's a safe play to make, and everyone on defense knows it too.
And Saskatchewan does take their timeout. That's just a 3-second play.
Big play by Hunt, though. See how patient he was on the backside of that play. He knows how much Charles Roberts loves to cut back.
So this means that with the Saskatchewan stop, they should get the ball with just over a half-minute remaining.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out. They punted from the 22-yard line, and that's where they punted from. So you're 15 yards up from there. See where they get the ball back.
That, of course,
they need the stop.
Means
first.
They have to stop Winnipeg here. And Roberts straight ahead again, runs into the middle linebacker, Mike McCullough and company. And it will be 3rd down. 65 seconds on the clock. Get one of Jones involved too.
Well, the strategy for Danny Barrett works perfectly for him, because it gives his offense a chance now with some time on the clock. Because 1 first down basically, proves Danny Barrett wrong, that he should have gambled on 3rd down, even though it was 3rd and a bunch.
And remember, as Mike McCullough gets attention down after that tackle, remember when Saskatchewan really didn't have anything going early in the first half, and Armstead has a 32-yard punt return, got the offense moving, and Armstead awaits, and this would be a timely opportunity for Saskatchewan to get another return.
Well, for the Bombers, though, you got to believe that they're gonna ask Troy Westwood to try and angle this out of bounds. Where he's standing, where he's going to punt from on the field is just inside the left hash mark. He's a left-footed kicker, which means it's easier for him to angle it out of bounds to the left side.
So while Mike McCullough gets attention, we can remind you once again, Corey Warren is standing by with all the sports news of the day. Sports Center coming up immediately following this game. 27-23. Winnipeg with the lead, trying to snap their losing streak, but still 65 seconds on the clock. And a punt upcoming for Doug Barry's crew.
Well, both teams coaches, Doug Barry and Danny Barrett, will have to rely on their defenses as this game comes to an end. Danny Barrett just relied on his to get the 2-0. Mission accomplished for Saskatchewan. Now it's Doug Barry's defense and whether or not they can force the 3-down, because it's 3-down football for Danny Barrett now offensively.
Last year it was 19-17 Saskatchewan in the Banjo Bowl. The first year Winnipeg prevailed 27-24. So we've got another close one. And the middle linebacker out of St. Francis Xavier, Mike McCullough, heads off.
Now there's Armstead back there, and you know that the instructions to Saskatchewan up front have been no penalties in this situation. The least penalized team in the league, and you can't have one now.
Well, Troy Westwood has averaged 44 yards a punt this year, netting 38.4, so they've done a nice job on coverage all year. They'll put it to the test here. Short kick. And a tough bounce for Armstead to field. And Armstead is down at the 34-yard line, 37 seconds on the clock. They've used their timeout, and they have to operate against Greg Marshall's defense. that came into this game the stingiest in the league at surrendering yardage.
And Danny Barrett's gamble to punt the ball in the last series pays off. He gets his 2-0 from the defense, plus 12 yards net on the exchange. So Kerry Joseph has 12 less yards that he has to travel.
Banjo Bowl trophy on the sidelines. That was a 39-yard punt by Westwood.
The 2 points, the most important thing, though, for Saskatchewan, or for both these teams.
Fans on their feet, 1st and 10, and Kerry Joseph looking deep, but not getting it away. Gavin Walls, who almost didn't get the start today, challenged this week in practice. They were considering Stevie Baggs coming onto the roster to take his spot, but what a critical time for the first sack for Winnipeg.
Well, they get a good push first from Doug Brown over the middle. He collapses the pocket there. Gavin Walls comes from the outside. There he is at the bottom.
2nd and 19, it's picked up. Omar Evans has the interception down the sidelines. The flags are flying. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are going to celebrate the end of a losing streak here in the Banjo Bowl.
Let's see what these flags are.
Evans' 2nd interception on the year.
Well, a couple of overthrows from Kerry Joseph. He got away with one early on when Anthony Marlborough dropped it. Omar Evans hangs on this time.
So Greg Marshall's defense responds today. And the Bombers have just 15 seconds to kill and get back in the win column.
You know, both defenses responded when they had to. Saskatchewan's did, got the 2-0 they needed, and now so is Winnipeg's.
Disqualification, rough play, Saskatchewan, number 53, half the distance to the goal line. First down.
Left tackle Charles Thomas will take the walk-off. First to the Saskatchewan room. In that secondary, but when it counted the most, the veteran Omar Evans, who was the man disqualified late or early last week, gets the clinching interception here.
You know, Omar Evans, he has good hands too. I mean, this is another overthrow, but he's looking at the football all the way. This is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers playing zone. They drop deep. Kerry Joseph had an open receiver. Matt Dominguez had a little bit of a window there.
Well, they hadn't won at home since the Canada Day long weekend.
Yeah, 70 days.
That's a wait. But they're going to even their record at 6-6, moved within 2 of Toronto in the East. And 2 points of Montreal on a bye. Danny Barrett's crew will go into a bye now and remain 2 points back of Calgary and 4 points behind the Eskimos. And if it's Winnipeg and Saskatchewan, it's not going to end quietly.
No, it won't. And, you know, full credit again. Like on Friday night, I really felt that the Edmonton Eskimo defense, even though Ricky Ray with the heroics in the end, the defense really won that game. And I think the defense won this game as well. Greg Marshall's unit came out with a lot more intensity. And, you know, Milt Stegall got things going for the Bomber offense when he got that touchdown. But it was a pretty consistent effort from that Bomber defense.
It'll go into the books as a 27-23 Blue Bomber win. Doug Barry wanted a recommitment to winning, and he got it here today in the Banjo Bowl.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the CFL. Do Wendy's, do what tastes right. By Rona, proud league-wide sponsor of the CFL. And by Rogers Wireless. Rogers brings you the latest MP3 phones.
Time now for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by the 2007 Chevy Avalanche. With Winnipeg trailing by a touchdown, Milt Stiegel gets the Bombers going with his great pitch right at the back of the end zone. Tied it at 20, gave the Bombers momentum on their way to victory. A cash donation will be made to the Canadian Coaching Association for the training and development of Canadian coaches on behalf of TSN and the 2007 Chevy Avalanche, the most flexible vehicle out there. Well, that does it for this week of the CFL. We're back at you next week with Wendy's Friday Night Football. The same Bombers are going to go in and face the Calgary Stampeders, who've been playing very well of late. We're on the air at 8:30 Eastern Time. The player of the game with 110 yards receiving and the one touchdown we showed you, as brought to you by Rogers Wireless, is Milt Stiegel. As the Bombers win it 27-23. They snap a 4-game losing streak, and all of a sudden, all's not so bad there. They're back. What are you guys doing, really? Please.
Just say goodbye to the football.
These guys are wrapping. SportsCenter is when?
Right now.
Right now. Smooth, Chelsea.